warm welcome to the Pisara Oval, also known as the Saranamuthu Stadium, Sri Lanka's first test venue, who will be hosting the first T20 Sri Lanka versus New Zealand. Conditions are looking very good here at the Pisara Oval. It's bright and sunny, blue skies over the grounds here in Colombo, and everything looks good for the first T20, which is I'm sure going to be a very good series. As you see, the one-day series was played down in Galle, Sri Lanka winning the first game by 9 wickets on Duckworth and Lewis. Then New Zealand came back strongly to win huge by 116 runs. But what a game we had, the third ODI. Sri Lanka chasing down a target with 8 wickets in hand, thanks to a brilliant 100 by Chamari Atapattu, and Sri Lanka thereby winning their first series versus New Zealand bilateral series, the Sri Lanka women's team. And I'm sure they're going to carry a lot of confidence, the momentum into this T20 series as well, which is going to start today. 3 matches in this series. The next one is on the 10th of July and the final on the 12th of July. And both teams will be looking forward to this game. New Zealand will be looking to come back and try and take this T20 series. And they will have not expected that a loss in the one-day series, so it's a much look forward T20 series. As you see, they have played 10 games. New Zealand have won all 10, and Sri Lanka will be looking to get a T20 win. And this is the ideal situation with that confidence, with the momentum. They will be on a high, Chamari Atapattu and a team, and they'll be looking to try and overall this strong New Zealand side in this T20 game as well. The two teams, they have been out here early, doing their drills, going through their warm-ups, and getting ready for this all-important game. New Zealand on the back foot at the moment, and they would have been taken by a surprise by Chamari Atapattu and the way she played. And they will not want to go back to New Zealand without winning this T20 series, so I'm sure they are going to play some really good cricket, come hard at the Sri Lankans. And the team is looking all ready and set to go. The Sri Lankans too out there on the field, going through their drills with the coaching staff. Tharindu Perra, the new assistant coach of the Sri Lanka women's team, as well, joining the side, led by Romesh Ratnayaka. And these girls, they are really pumped up. And you could see the vibrance in themselves, smiling, looking a happy bunch out there after that brilliant ODI series win. Young side, led by the experienced Chamari Atapattu. The Oval, of course, iconic venue, the iconic scoreboard. Well, that's picturesque as always. Sri Lanka's first test venue back in 1982, and it has been a wonderful host of test match cricket over the years, and it is going to be, I'm sure, another good game here at the Oval. Well, we'll see what's on offer down in the center. Faris Maroof is out there with the pitch report.
An absolute steaming day out at the Pisara Oval. 2 days ago there was heavy rain in Colombo as well as other districts, but today it's a steaming hot day. As I said, the groundsmen have done a wonderful job to get the facilities right and dry for have a good match. Pitch report today, it looks dry as usual at Pisara Oval. The pitches are really good for batting, and this has lots of grass in the middle, but when it comes to the business end, there's not much to speak about. Hardness, it's quite hard and it's dry, and these are the areas that might pop out. Just the 40 overs of game being a T20 might not be the case, but these are the cracks that might be spinners will be targeting. But overall, I think the pitch looks really good. The team probably winning the toss would like to bat first in these kind of service, as well as the heat. It'll be too hard for the team to bat second after they field first. So overall, I think a good pitch, a total of 140, 150 a pass score generally in Pisara Oval could be expected.
So there you go once again, as Faris Maroof predicts it's going to be a good track here at the Oval. It has generally been a good wicket to bat on. There will be assistance for both the bowlers and the batters. There's a few cracks, but there is a tinge of grass as well that has bound this wicket together really well, especially towards one side of the wicket, a little bit more grass on the other side. And I'm sure the ball is going to come onto the bat really well. And there will be some shot making, some run scoring on this surface. Looks a good one for T20 cricket. We had a bit of a cloud cover earlier on in the morning, but it seems much better now. The sun has come out. Bit of a blue skies. And all looking very still. Yeah, that is the opening ceremony, the national anthems of the two countries. Well, earlier on, earlier on in the day, we also had the two captains down in the center for the toss, and it is down there to do the honors is Damit Veerasinghe.
We are all set for the toss of this first T20I between Sri Lanka and New Zealand here at Pisara Oval. I have the two captains with me, Sophie Devine of New Zealand, Chamari Athapattu of Sri Lanka, and the ICC match referee Michelle Pereira, as well as the standby umpire Susantha Disanayaka. The home team captain Chamari will now spin the coin.
Tails is the call. Tails it is, Sophie.
New Zealand have won the toss. Sophie, what are you going to do?
We're going to have a bowl first today.
What's the reason on bowling first?
Look, it's the first time playing at this venue, and to be honest, we don't know what a pass score is, so we think putting the Sri Lankans into bat first up and then knowing what we have to chase.
How's the team combination for the T20I?
We've just got one change, so Lee Kasparek comes in for Fran Jonas.
Wish you all the very best, Sophie.
Cool, thank you.
Chamari, if you had won the toss, what would you have done?
Definitely we will choose bat first because I know these conditions, and the wicket is really good for the batting, and I'm pretty confident about my batting unit, so definitely we will choose bat first.
What sort of a score do you want to post on this pitch?
Obviously I think 160, 170 is good score in this wicket. Yeah.
Any changes to your team?
No changes, same team.
Thank you very much, Chamari. Wish you all the very best.
Thank you so much.
So there you go. The news from the centre is that New Zealand women have won the toss. Sophie Devine electing to bowl first on this surface. Well, Sri Lanka Chamari Athapattu, of course, leading the way. Gunaratna, Samaravikrama, De Silva, Sanjeevani, Kalhari, Ranasinghe, Hansima, Fernando, Ranavir, and Probodhini making up the 11 for today's first T20I for Sri Lanka. And this young team, along with a few senior players, will be looking to express themselves in this game as well. For New Zealand, we have Bernadine, Bates, Kerr, Devine, the captain, Green, Plymouth, Holiday, Kasparek, Rowe, Tahuhu, and Carson, who have made up this 11 for New Zealand today. Joining me in the commentary box for this first stint. Very good morning to you, Estelle. Estelle, something to say about this New Zealand side? A few changes from the one-day series?
Yeah, good morning, Ricky, and good morning to all our viewers. Couple of changes for New Zealand. Lee Kasparek in the side after a couple of years. Her last T20 coming back in 2021. But if you look at her record, she's got fantastic stats. Fastest to 50 wickets in women's international T20s. So she's got some pedigree behind her in this format. Be interesting to see how the off-spinner goes on this track. Also, Hannah Rowe back into the side. Fran Jonas missing out. Jonas, the 18-year-old who featured in the Under-19 World Cup earlier this year, was impressive in the ODIs, but of course, tough facing someone like Athapattu getting 200s in those games in Gaul. So she's missing out today. Experienced bowling lineup in comparison to the ODI games. So it'll be interesting to see how they go, particularly as they'll be bowling first on this tour for the first time.
Yes, certainly it's going to be a battle, and the New Zealand bowlers will be looking forward to exploit whatever there is an offer here in the morning time on this surface. I'm sure it will be helpful to their seam bowlers. There will be a bit of carry and bounce as always on this oval surface. That has been the trend over the years, and the New Zealand fast bowlers will be looking to exploit that against Chamari Atapattu in particular. Yes, they're looking raring to go out there already, and they're looking forward to this T20 game. Trophies displayed as well at the venue here. The Oval all set for a good series. The Sri Lankans, Estelle, what a one-day series they had. They'll be looking to carry in that momentum, that confidence. I think they're really on a high, and I'm sure within themselves they know that they could, though they have played 10 games, never won against New Zealand, they'll be looking and they'll be knowing that, believing in themselves that they can beat New Zealand once again.
Yeah, huge result in the ODI series 2-1. I'm not sure anybody saw that coming. So, as you said correctly, they'll be taking a lot of confidence into these games. But New Zealand will know there's just one woman that really stands between them and getting into the Sri Lankan side. Chamari Atapattu was phenomenal in the first and the third ODI. Got a 0 in the second. Sri Lanka chasing, trying to chase down 329, were unable to do so. So it'll be interesting to see what their plans are for Atapattu in this game. In goal, she had a little bit of an advantage hitting with the wind towards the city end. This time, not much of a strong breeze. Conditions very still out there, very hot out there.
So those are the stats for Chamari Atapattu. 113 games, over 2,400 runs, average in just 22. Strike rate of 103, best score for 113. She'll be looking to improve the way she bats. Definitely that strike rate, she generally goes at it very hard, especially with the new ball in the power play overs. But I feel this is also a good toss for New Zealand to win. I think one of the main reasons they would have elected to field first also, Estelle, is trying to get Chamari out early when this wicket is fresh and use their fast bowlers in the power play overs.
Yeah, and they would have seen how Sri Lanka preferred to chase in the ODIs. They've got a total to chase. They seem to be a lot more confident, knowing what they need to do. Interesting to see how they go when they have to set a total, particularly in the first game of a series. Eden Carson will open the bowling to Atapattu.
So Vishpe Gunaratne, 16 games, just 189 runs, very low average, strike rate to below 100, best score 45, but still 17 years of age. She has a long way to go. She has a long time to improve on those stats, and she'll be looking forward to this series. Ideal opportunity.
A wicket first up for Eden Carson. She's gone through Chamari Atapattu. That's exactly the start that New Zealand would have wanted. Atapattu stands there in disbelief.
Well, I think that was unexpected. She was playing for a bit of turn that just went straight through. Coming around the wicket, wide of that return crease, angling it into the left-hander, you could see. Very wide, just went straight through with the arm, no turn at all. That sort of skidded onto Chamari Atapattu, and that's what you get here at this oval surface. And what a wicket, what a way to start off for New Zealand. Chamari Atapattu bowled Eden without scoring. One down without anything on the board.
Immediately Sri Lanka under plenty of pressure. Harshita Samaravikrama in at number 3. Didn't get too many runs, didn't get too many opportunities in the ODI series. Straight away Sophie Devine on the attack, brings a slip in. Eden Carson has had a very eventful tour, bowled 11 overs in one of the ODIs. But I'm sure this will be one of her highlights.
Yes, certainly. Picking up, but the key wicket, the big fish, the number one batter in ODIs in the world. There is Samara Vikrama, 40 games under her belt. But now this is crucial. Two young players in the centre.
Similar delivery on that occasion, but Samara Vikrama is able to get bat on it. Those are Carson's numbers, 12 matches, 17 wickets and an economy of 5.5. She's had a decent start to her career.
Yes, bowling with a new ball, you need to control that really well. She has done so. She's just kept it straight, kept it on the stumps. Harshita Samara Vikrama, she has a lot to do here now with the departure of Athapattu. That's the first run on the board. Opens the account.
There you go, the replay of that wicket, just going straight on with the arm, no turn on that from Eden Carson. Athapattu couldn't believe that that got through her defences.
So she was in that set of mind, that mood, coming in from that brilliant 100, looking to score runs straight away, being in that aggressive mood. No, looking to punch that through the offside. That zip through.
Vishmi Gunaratne off the strike immediately. Immediately Sri Lanka put under pressure, so they'll need to rebuild. Won't have that attacking option of Athapattu in the power play. That's the end of a very successful over for New Zealand. Sri Lanka 2 for 1 after 1.
So first over completed. Just the 2 runs and 1 wicket. The big fish, Chamari Athapattu, bowled by Eden in the very first delivery.
Yeah, Tahu, who will take the new ball from the other end. Experienced campaigner, 75 matches under her belt. Once again, an economy under 6. She was a key performer in that ODI series, particularly that second game where New Zealand won, picked up 4 wickets. She'll want to make further inroads, particularly coming up against Vishmi Gunaratne, who she kind of worked out through that ODI series.
Yes, Tahu has been one of New Zealand's leading bowlers over the last few years. She's led that attack really well. Lots of experience, as you mentioned, good economy rate. She's a wicket taking option with the new ball. And with that early wicket now, New Zealand will be looking to put the pressure on these young Sri Lankan batters.
In the air, but finds the gap and it's run away for 4. Vishmi Gunaratne. That's the first boundary of this game. Nicely played. Fine leg up in the circle. Just evades the fielder in the deep and finds the rope. That's a good start from the youngster. She knows today she can't afford to go slow. She needs to get going. What a way to do it.
It's a quick outfield here. Good surface, good venue, the oval. always runs on offer for good shots. With outside the off stump, a slight misfield. Opportunity here for a single.
Yeah, that was hit well by Gunaratna. Amelia Kerr just getting her hands to it.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, that's well bowled. Well bowled. Pushing on the back foot. She should have probably been on the front foot. That was a foolish delivery. Bit nervous out there, Samara Vikrama. Is he playing from the crease?
Reason for that, Ricky, is that Tahuhu has used the short ball really well in the ODI series. Managed to grab a couple of wickets with that delivery. So clearly that's playing on the minds of the Sri Lankans. Shot on that occasion, but Samara Vikrama misses out. It's been a decent over for Sri Lanka with that boundary from Gunaratna. They'll want to end it well now. One delivery to go. Misses out once again with on offer from Tahuhu. But Harshita Samaravikraman not able to get bat on ball. That's the end of the second over. Sri Lanka 7 for 1. The playing 11s for today. Sri Lanka not making any changes from the previous ODI, the third ODI. Just going with an unchanged batting lineup as well. Bit surprised not to see Hasini Pereira in the side, made a 50 in the warm-up game. New Zealand on the other hand bringing in Leigh Kasparek. So that's the only change they've made. Fran Jonas missing out.
So Sri Lanka sticking to their winning combination from that ODI series. We have Chamra, so he's a very experienced umpire in domestic cricket as well as a men's cricket officiating today, along with Dedunu Silva, who's done a lot of women's internationals. Susantha Dissanayake is the reserve umpire, and Michelle Pereira is our match referee for today's game. So Hana introduced into the attack. Just one over of a spin, and that worked well for New Zealand. That definitely would have been a plan against Chamriyatapattu. Hana Rowe is coming to this game. 35 games, just 18 wickets. Economy rate over 6.78. Best of 3 for 18. So opportunity for her to impress. Very tall.
Yeah, Carson did her job, didn't she, in that first over. Brought in to put Chamriyatapattu under a bit of pressure. New Zealand now realise that with Atapattu gone, Sri Lanka will probably go on the defensive a bit, getting the quicks in, probably with the tactic of bowling a bit short.
No slips in position. There is a shortish extra cover catch in. A mid wicket as well. Strong offside field.
Takes it on the full. Once again, not able to find the gap on the leg side. As you mentioned, Ricky. Just two fielders on the leg side, so she can find that gap either between mid-on and mid-wicket, or just way off mid-wicket. Beg your pardon. There are three on the leg side. Big gaps nonetheless.
Well, looking to be aggressive, drags it on the onside, past at the mid-on fielder, picks up a boundary. Wishme Gunaratna, that was a good hit. Premeditated, probably. She knew that Hannah Rowe was going to bowl full, so she picked up the length early and managed to get it into the gap, showing some aggression.
Yeah, that's good batting from Bhishmi Gunaratna, as I mentioned. Just able to find that gap between mid-wicket and mid-on.
Yes, Rover definitely is looking to bowl that fuller length. She's tall. She's looking to get that Yorker in, try to hit the pads, looking for that LBW. With the length she's bowling, it's surprised that New Zealand does not have a slip in position as well.
Gunaratna will also be bringing plenty of confidence into this series. Got a 50 in the first ODI, becoming the youngest Sri Lankan to score half century in international cricket for Sri Lanka women. So she'll be on the high. Want to take on the bowlers now with the responsibility falling on her shoulders with the dismissal of Athapattu. That's nicely driven straight down the ground. But Brooke Halliday managed to save at least a couple of runs with that dive. That's the end of the third over. Sri Lanka 12 for 1. For 1, Sri Lanka. Bhishmi Gunaratna on 11, 2 boundaries to her name. It's another change in bowling. Sophie Devine keeping things moving. She's taking the ball now. Janashak the end.
Yes, so far just 1 over spell for the bowlers. Sophie Devine coming in with a slow medium pace. She'll get a boundary. Bhishmi Gunaratna, that's a good shot. With outside the off stump, flashing blade. She wasn't afraid to hit it in the air, got it into the gap. So well comes Sophie Devine with a 4.
Yeah, that's really nicely played by young Bhishmi Gunaratna. Once again, finding the gap. I think that's one area that she's worked on since making her debut for Sri Lanka. Fielder immediately being sent back by Devine, so some protection for the bowler.
110 wickets for Sophie Devine in T20 cricket. Lots of experience. The other end, it's good to see Bhishmi Gunaratna playing freely, playing without any fear, going after these more experienced New Zealand bowlers. This economy rate of 6.34, 119 games. Loads of experience, and she would have seen something that she could use in this surface.
Gunaratna, if you watched her in the previous delivery, once that fielder was sent back, just tried to find that gap once again, not going for the big shots. Smart cricket from the youngster.
So these young players, if they could get a runner ball, that is certainly good enough. A lot of improvement.
First bouncer off the game, Sophie Devine. Just not getting to Bhishmi Gunaratna quick enough. Just leaves it alone. As I mentioned, Ricky, that was one area where they really tested the Sri Lankans in the ODI series, particularly Gunaratna.
Yes, that first bouncer has come from Sophie Devine. I expected something from Hannah Rowe, but this is good thinking. Mixing it up, gets her onto the back foot with that short delivery, then goes for the fuller one.
Yeah, good over from Sophie Devine after going for that boundary first up. Pushes the fielder back, and since then hasn't given anything away. Gunaratna want to get off strike, keep that strike rotating. Once again on the offside. Single for Gunaratna to end that over. Sri Lanka 17 for 1 after 4.
Four was completed in the Sri Lankan innings. 17 for 1. Eden Carson will be bowling her second over. Captain Sophie Devine have changed her bowlers around so far, and these two next overs will be very crucial for the Sri Lankans. Vishmi Gunaratne trying to take on the bowling. For all those who are just joining, Eden Carson got the Sri Lankan captain on the very first ball of the match. A very good morning to you, Farwis. Interesting game, and so far the White Ferns have done an excellent job.
Good morning to you, Domit. Good morning to all our viewers. Yes, definitely. After winning the toss, the White Ferns elected to bowl first. Main target would have been to get rid of Chamru Yatapattu. They did, and what a wonderful shot by Harshita Samaravikrama down the ground. There was some flight given by Eden Carson, and Harshita just came down the track. And for the safest area in the field is right over the umpire's head and goes for a boundary.
The first positive stroke from Harshita. Sri Lanka badly need to make use of these power play overs.
I was mentioning about the power play overs. I think it's very important laying the foundation by these two batters. Since Chamari Yatapattu did the bulk of the scoring up in the ODI series up in Gaul, got out in the first ball of the game. I think Harshita and Vishmi has got the skills to do it. It's all about capitalizing on this start and making sure a decent score could be sustained, and let the bowlers do their job, because Sri Lanka is spin heavy and this pitch will suit the spinners, and as the days goes by I think the pitch will get slower and lower.
Yeah, even the visitors have included an extra spinner in Lee Kasparek. She'll come on to the attack later on in this game. Eden Carson attacking the stumps. End of the fifth over. Sri Lanka 23 for 1. Straight away, Captain Sophie Devine have taken herself off the attack and have brought back her A-seamer Lia Tahuhu last over in the first power play. She got a hand to it, probably saved a couple of runs. All the 6 overs Faris have been bowled by 4 bowlers, but Captain Sophie have broken down the spells to just 1 overs. What do you think about that, Farid?
Good tactic, and also to use Aiden Carson, the off spinner, against Chamari Yatapattu was a bold call. Winning the toss, bowling first, and there was some early movement. But getting the off spinner was a tactical move which would work. With Chamari Yatapattu, she likes pace to the bat. So that's where I think the White Ferns have done the homework right. Getting the off spinner and getting the big fish there. But ever since then, Sophie Devine has been quite busy juggling around the bowlers. And sometimes a good act to have, not letting the batters to target a particular bowler. In this instance, when you're changing the bowlers around, making sure that the batsmen don't get set. So it's a smart call, a bold call, have worked so far.
She got some glove on it. That's Vishmi's fourth boundary. She's done well so far, Vishmi Gunaratna, especially in finding the fence. Leah Tahu not getting her line and length correct that time. 29 for 1 Sri Lanka.
Yeah, definitely a bad delivery by Leah Tahu. It was a free hit, fine leg up, was asking for trouble. All what Vishmi had to do was to get some bat, which she did. And pressure is back on Tahu. Last over before the power play ends for Sri Lanka. Nicely bowled. That's a better length. Keeping it fuller, back of the length. And wicket to wickets is very important when you have two fielders saving the boundary. At deep cover point and deep square leg, no one at third man or fine leg. Both are in the circle. Any width, offside or leg side, only the batters has to get a side bat before get a boundary. So this is where I think Tahu got to be straight as possible.
That's much better. Sri Lankans need to rotate the strike more often.
In power play is very important, not only boundary hitting, rotating the strike, especially when the combination is a right-hander and a left-hander. Never easy for a bowler to adjust every delivery. Slight change in the field, deep square leg and cover point for the left-handed Harshita.
Another good single, Harshita Samaravikrama. That's her forte, to rotate the strike. The White Ferns, they'll be quite pleased with their work in this first power play. 6 overs. The next 14 overs, that will be very crucial for the home team as well. Susie Bates collects it. 6 overs completed. Sri Lanka 31 for 1. Here's umpire Dedunu De Silva signalling the second power play. 14 overs. Sri Lanka in the power play for which 20 dots. That is something Coach Rumesh Ratnayaka, the assistant coach Tharidu Pereira and the batting coach Malinda Wanapura will be a little concerned. And Captain Sophie Devine have made another bowling change. Lee Kasparek the right arm off spinner. She didn't play in any of the ODIs. Getting her first gig in this tour, Lee Kasparek. Straight on the money.
Right, good start. Right on the money, as you said. I've just been informed by a co-commentator / stats guru, Estelle, that Lee Kasparek is the fastest to 50 wickets in women's cricket. So that's a great record to have, isn't it? Economic rate of 6.29. Brilliant.
Harshita Samaravikrama. Her plan should be to rotate the strike and make sure that the scoreboard keeps moving. But the home team, they'll need to get that one or two boundaries, especially in these next couple of overs. In these next 14 overs, 4 fielders will be allowed outside the 30-yard circle.
The boundary options for the right-handed Wishme is probably go over mid-off, which is against the turn. It's quite inviting the way Lay's bowling. She's giving a lot of air, slowing things down. It's definitely a good option to have. But in the end, I think playing against the turn won't be that easy. Side change in the field, fine leg going towards the square leg to get rid of the single, and the deep square leg field moved across the deep fine leg. Nicely bowled, nicely bowled. Slowing things up. Never easy when the pitch is slow and the bowler is making it even slower to time the delivery.
Reese, you had a closer look at that pitch. I think the spinners will have a major role, especially considering that all these 3 T20Is will be played on this same venue. Beautifully played by Wishme Gunaratne. Great timing, great placement. That's a 5th boundary.
Wow, what a shot. Against the turn, this occasion, Lanka was too full and too wide. And in the end, found the gap perfectly. It's good batting. He's relying on timing and placement. Exactly she did. 26 of 26. Wishme got to go on. She will be the key batter for Sri Lanka.
End of the 7th over. Sri Lanka 36 for 1. Another bowling change from captain Sophie Devine. She's brought back her main right arm leg spinner Amelia Kerr, represented Mumbai Indians in the Women's Premier League. Missed opportunity that time for Bernadine Bezu-Denhout. Amelia Kerr, I think, started off with a googly.
A massive opportunity for the White Ferns. Missed out. Got herself York, didn't it? Was very full. But in the end, missed stumping. Amelia Kerr, been following her during the women's IPL. She was one of the star performers for Mumbai Indians. And she will have a big say in this pitch as well, as you spoke about. Brilliant record. Again, this is experience for you, isn't it? In international cricket, when you have ladies who have performed so well for a long time, that's just goal. In the end, this time, as you spoke about, spinners will have a big say, slowing things down, and in the end, it was an easy cotton ball.
This is what right arm leg spinners can do. They can give you wickets. Melika strikes straight away in her first over. Breaks this partnership. Wishme Gunaratne tried to work it towards the leg side. Should have played it on the off. A promising knock, but Gunaratne's innings comes to an end. She goes for 26. Sri Lanka 37 for 2.
Camille! Go, relax!
Hansima Karunaratne, the new batter for Sri Lanka. Great bowling. If you were the captain, I think you would have getting a slip maybe. Hansima Karunaratne played 12 T20Is, best score of 44. Good to have a slip in place. Valiant effort, but Hansima gets off the mark.
If I'm the captain, I'll be very tempted against the right-hander for sure. But in the end, in T20 cricket, with only 4 fielders allowed outside the circle, the captains are quite reluctant to take that chance. But I think it's very important in White Fern's perspective to get rid of Harshita as well. She has settled in really well, playing the anchor role, just looking for the singles and get the other batters from the other end to be more positive and try and charge. But in the end, just 38 for 2 in the 8th over. Interested to see what sort of a score Sri Lanka will be targeting as well. Something close to 120, 130 is a must in this pitch for me.
Nice, Neely.
They're pushing for the second, but they'll have to settle with a single only. 8 overs completed. Sri Lanka 39 for 2.
So 39 for 2 after 8 overs. That was a good partnership after losing Chamari Atapattu in the very first delivery of this innings. Well, walks across the stumps. Harshita Samaravikrama paddles that away. Get a couple of runs. She's moved into double figures now. She has to play the main role here for Sri Lanka. She's the set batter. She has to ensure she bats as long as possible so that the Sri Lankan women's team can get onto a good score.
Just a single boundary so far for Harshita Samaravikrama.
Oh, once again trying to be too cheeky. Given out as stumped.
Given out. Yeah, given out on the field. Straight away the umpire goes up with the finger. It didn't seem like Harshita Samaravikrama spent that long outside her crease, and she was a little bit surprised by that decision. Here's the replay here. But it might have been that her foot just got stuck outside the crease. She was trying to get it back in, but the front of the shoe got stuck outside the crease, and she couldn't push it back. In the end, the umpire, I think, made the right decision on that one.
So Kasparik So that was a brave decision by umpire Chamara Soisa at Squaleg. We'll take a look at that one again. But Harshika Samaravikrama, I just mentioned, she needs to hang in there, play a long innings. Unfortunately, trying to play one shot too many. Nilakshmi Silva, 67 games has experience behind her. That average just a 17, strike rate 99, 63 her best. She has done well in tough situations. She has played some of those much needed innings for Sri Lanka in the past, and Sri Lanka needs Nilakshmi Silva once again to stand up. She's the experienced player.
And Nilaksha De Silva coming off a pretty good innings in the third ODI as well. Played a good supporting hand to Chamari Atapattu, who played the defining innings in that game.
So Kasparek coming into this game, this T20, picking up a wicket in the second over. She'll be very happy. That will boost her confidence.
But two new batters at the crease now. Hansima, both have only played 2 balls so far.
Oh, poor fielding right through her. Not getting down in time. Conceding a couple of runs. Good running between the wickets as well.
We've seen that from New Zealand through the course of the tour. The fielding hasn't been up to where you'd usually expect from a New Zealand side. A few catches went down the one-dayers, and so far, at least until now, they'd been okay in this match. But lets that one go through the legs to hurt the cover fielder.
Another quick single. They left to rush through. She was a touch slow. Had to dive in at the last moment. This time Ampachamara Soiza says not out. Hansima, she was going towards the danger end. She took off quickly but was a bit slow midway. Had to put in the final dive. She's lucky to survive that one. 9 overs completed, 44 for 3.
Yeah, looked very close from... Yeah, it was a close one. She was, it looked very, very adjacent from up here, but the umpires on the field best place to make that decision. Here's Amelia Kerr once again.
So we'll take a look at that one. That was the last delivery of that last over. Nilaksha De Silva took off. Hansika, oh yes, I think that was a good decision at the end. The dive saved her.
Yes, Mills.
Umpire Chamara Sois has been spot on so far. Very experienced in domestic cricket, school cricket.
Come on, Billy.
Coming up the ranks really fast. Was a part of the Lanka Premier League as well last season. That's a good sweep shot. Picked it up early. Just a single. But good sound of the bat.
Yeah, can't beat that fielder out at a deep square leg. The issue for Sri Lanka is their batting, their run rate. Still at 4.82, almost halfway through the innings. They really need that to be up closer to 6.5, 7, in order to give themselves a good chance of making a solid score in this match.
The good thing between these two in this last couple of overs, looking for the singles, looking to get a runner ball. They can't get the boundary. They have to ensure they get a single every ball, not play too many dot deliveries. Yes, it's interesting to see after Chamari Atapattu getting out in the very first delivery and how much this team Sri Lankans can get to. What sort of a target they can pose for New Zealand. I think that is what everybody is looking forward to.
Yeah, and it's a good opportunity as we see the batter drive back into a crease. It's a good opportunity for the rest of the batting order to show that it's not just a one-woman show in this Sri Lanka team. That Atapattu out first ball about their talismanic player, the one who carried them through the ODI series. New Zealand were obviously ecstatic when that happened.
This time manages to get it into the gap. Nilaksha De Silva as always looking busy. She's got off to a decent start, 5 of 8.
And when Atapattu goes first ball, it just takes a lot of explosiveness out of this Sri Lankan top order. They, we haven't seen any of the batters so far attempt to go over the top the way you would expect an Atapattu to.
Yes, if you take a look at the strike rates, almost all of them are well below 100. We'll come back to that. 10 overs completed, 47 for 3. So we were talking about the Sri Lankans. All of these batters well below 100 strike rate as the players take a important valuable drinks break. Projected scores at the current run rate 94. They'll be looking to get at least to 128 runs per over from here onwards. That is the minimum. New Zealand have such a strong batting lineup. So one of these have to take the initiative, look to be aggressive, and go on and play that important innings for Sri Lanka. We'll take a look at the wickets that fell so far today in this innings. Sri Lanka, after being put into bat by New Zealand, who won the toss in this first T20. Very first delivery, they went with spin, and Chamari Atapathu was clean bowled. She was probably looking to play that to the onside. Ball skidded on, and then that caught and bowled. She was batting really well, Vishmi Gunaratne, until that moment, looking to chip it on the onside. And this last one looking to be too cheeky. She played one the earlier delivery, got a couple of runs, but this time didn't go away and was outstumped. Good glove work by Bernardine, and Samara Vikram had to depart for 12. So Nilakshmi Silva on 5, Hansima Karunaratne on 2, Kavisha Dilhari, Anushka Sanjeevani, Oshandeep Ranasinghe, the batters to follow, then the bowlers. So 10 overs are remaining. They'll have to press on the accelerator and Rufami onwards.
Yeah, I mean, the only batter who's kind of batted with any kind of intent so far is Vishmi Gunaratne. She'd hit 5 boundaries in her innings, and pierced a few gaps, particularly in the power play. But we haven't seen any of the other batters really show that kind of positive intent. But
we'll take a look at the New Zealand bowlers. Eden Carson started off well, brilliant. 2 overs, 1 for 8 with our spinners. Leah Tahuhu, 2 overs for 13. We'll see her in the death overs once again. And then we had Hannah Rowe, just a 1 over for 5. Sophie Devine bowled 1 over 5 as well. Kasparek, 2 overs, 1 for 10. And we had Amelia Kerr, who has picked up a wicket as well in 2 overs, 1 for 5. So all have chipped in. 6 bowlers used so far. And New Zealand changing their bowlers around. 1 over spells for some of them. And I think we have another bowling change, is it? Yes, it's Halliday who is coming to the attack. Brooke Halliday. So the 7th bowler used in the 11 overs so far, Andrew.
yeah, New Zealand appear to be rifling through their ranks, maybe trying a few things out. There's not a lot riding on this series, and this is a slow, low pitch, the kind that they don't get often at home. So it's a chance for them to experiment a little bit and to see how their bowlers are going.
Just a 1 wicket in 16 games. Hasn't bowled a lot. Economy rate very good, 5.66. Has just bowled the 3 overs before this. So this is a big opportunity for Brooke Halliday to show what she's capable of with the ball, the skills with the ball.
Yeah, she seems very much a part-time bowler, doesn't she? From her action, from her approach to the crease, very short run-up. And I think there's a little hop on the other foot, on the wrong foot, before. I haven't seen that very much from New Zealand players. A wrong-footed seam bowler. But here we go, here's Halliday again.
That's a good shot though. Pierces the gap, Hansika Karunaratne. Important boundary for herself and for Sri Lanka, brings the score to 52. Much needed.
Yeah, that was a nicely placed shot. There were 2 fielders who could potentially have got it, but she picked the gap beautifully. It's a bit short from Halliday, but Hansima was onto it very sharply.
Yes, this time too short. Oh, That was very slow off the surface, and Hansima Karunaratne playing way too early. She was probably looking to pull that through mid-wicket region.
She almost looked surprised by how early that bounced and how slow it came to her. It almost bounced in Brooke Halliday's half of the pitch and was almost on its way down by the time it got to the batter Karunaratne. She tried to muscle that onto the leg side, but almost ended up chopping it on. Wasn't very far from the wicket.
Is the umpire having a chat to the captain? So Halliday, interest in a bowling option here. Sort of bowling these cutters, slow leg cutters.
Yeah, that was a nice leg cutter. You could see that move off the pitch. I mean, partly this is reflection of how comfortable New Zealand feel in this match, that they're bowling a bowler who hasn't bowled much like Brooke Halliday, but also it seems like a tactical change because they've recognised how slow this surface is.
With but unable to get it away. She'll be disappointed, Hansima Karunaratne. There were a couple of deliveries that should have gone for runs. 11 overs completed, 53 for the loss of 3 wickets.
Yeah, that's good. I reckon if you got the picture, good stuff.
So 9 overs remaining in this innings. Sri Lanka will be looking to get to that 120 mark minimum. They need a few big overs.
Eden Carson, who struck maybe the definitive blow in this match so far, the first ball wicket of Chamariathapattu in for her 3rd over now. And another straight one gets another wicket. Eden Carson, that ball's working magic for her today. It's an arm ball, went pretty quickly off the surface, and Hansima Karunaratne attempting to hit that through the leg side, ends up just getting hit right in front. It looked plumb from up here, Ricky.
Yes, Carson's first balls or the first deliveries of a spell have been killers for the Sri Lankans so far. Got Chamariathapattu, the very first ball of the match, now coming in for a new spell. Strikes again, playing cross the line, that kept a bit low. But that was probably too full to pull for Hansima Karunaratne. She has to depart for 7. Sri Lanka 53 for 4.
Yes, Sri Lanka, after rebuilding a little bit through Vishnu Gunaratne and Harshada Samarawickrama, having lost Chamariathapattu first ball, are now in a bit of trouble.
Yes, Kavisha Dilhari, very poor average, just 10.73. A lot to improve. Has a lot of skill, has a lot of talent, but hasn't really built on that talent and skill so far. Gets away quickly with a boundary. So starts off her innings in style, using that paddle sweep, just trying to use whatever pace there is on offer from Eden Carson.
Yeah, another arm ball from Carson and a paddle sweep first up from Dilhari shows a little bit of her confidence. And she placed it really beautifully. She got a little bit on it, didn't quite middle it, but you know, with those shots, you only need to get a little bit on it for it to run away quickly to the boundary, and this outfield seems fairly fast at the moment.
Yes, that's a good start for Kavisha Dilhari. This time playing late, opens the face of the bat. Another couple of runs definitely. The ball will pull up. Will they come back for 3?
Yeah, comfortable three, good running there. And again, Kavisha Dilhari using the pace of Eden Carden. That one was a little bit slower, but she played that beautifully, opened up the bat and got it down towards deep third. She's made a bright start to this innings. Seven runs off the first two balls. That'll give her a bit of confidence.
It's showing some intent here, Kavisha Dilhari, to get a move on. That was the quicker delivery. Too close this time to play that shot. Bernadine has been very good behind the stumps. Good glove work.
And a big job now for this lower middle order. They've got to get Sri Lanka up towards 120. You'd think they'd have to get up there to really challenge this New Zealand batting order.
It's a New Zealand strong players, a strong batting lineup. 120 minimum probably is what's needed. And Sri Lanka then can use their spinners. We have seen New Zealand prefer their slow bowlers as well. This surface has something for the spinners. This time probably trying to hit it too hard through that mid-wicket region. Couldn't middle it. 12 overs completed. It's a 60 for the loss of 4 wickets.
Go 45 for this. Leah, 45 for this one.
$60 for 4 Sri Lanka after 12 overs. Crucial wickets falling early. Big task ahead for Kavisha Dilhari and Nilakshi De Silva, both informed players for Sri Lanka over the last 12 months or so. And Dilhari has started really well. 8 runs off the first 3 deliveries she's faced. Looks a really busy player. She did get a half century in that second ODI in goal as well. So she'll be coming into this series with plenty of confidence. Melia Kerr, she's been brilliant today. 2.1 overs, economy of 2.77. It's so difficult to get away, particularly when she's bowling so well. That's nicely played by Nilakshi De Silva. Big gap there, fine leg, and she's able to get it fine enough to beat the fielder. So once again, boundary in this over for Sri Lanka.
A boundary early on in the over will have lots of pressure on the bowler. This is a free hit, isn't it? Down the leg side, no fine leg fielder. Just had to get the placement right. There's good batting and changing the field as well after that stroke. Short mid-wicket moving to short fine leg. The right-handed Nilakshi De Silva. The other option, outside edge. A bit of feeling at short third man. The boundary option over mid-on is quite tempting, but Amelia Kerr is bowling very slow. To time and get over the mid-on fielder will be tough work, but the invitation is certainly been given by the White Fern skipper, Sophie Devine. At the moment, I think they are on track to get the 120, 130 runs, which I think is a par in this pitch.
Yeah, you have to think that these two will have to do the bulk of the scoring if they are to get to that kind of total. As I mentioned, Dilhari coming in with some form. Nilakshi De Silva too played a valuable hand in that third ODI win for Sri Lanka alongside Chamari Athapattu.
Especially after losing Chamari Athapattu, the first delivery itself, I think the Sri Lankan ladies have done a decent job to be at 68 for 4. I'm pretty sure in the next 7 overs, 6 runs per over will get them 42 runs, which is 110, and probably push it to 7 to 8. I think 125, 130 will be gettable.
Outside edge once again. Like you mentioned, Kerr giving so much flight to the delivery. That's the end of the 13th over. Sri Lanka 68 for 4. There you go, projected scores at the current rate, they'll just cross the 100-run mark. But as Maha said, they'll be looking at that 8 runs per over, 124, 130. That'll be total they can defend against this White Ferns lineup, especially on a track that is offering a little bit to the spinners.
Indeed, so hit the spot there, definitely with the spin option what Sri Lanka possesses. And probably they'll be targeting the 2 wickets of skipper Sophie Devine, Amelia Kerr, Susie as well. So I think it's important. Sri Lanka has that score in the scorecard, and this time probably tried to go over mid-off. The option was right, the boundary was inviting, but in the end just managed to squeeze it to the mid-off fielder.
Yes, Susie Bates brought into the attack. She picks up a wicket straight away. That's a big wicket. Nilakshi De Silva, one of the few Sri Lankans who can really clear the boundary, goes trying to clear that infield. Comfortable catch in the end for Sophie Devine. Sri Lanka lose their 5th wicket now.
Definitely, as I said, invitation was there, just couldn't get the elevation or the power to elate that mid-off fielder, which was Sophie Devine. Nilakshi De Silva gone for 12 of 17 deliveries. Sri Lanka 68 for 5.
Anushka Sanjeevani next in for Sri Lanka. Not much of a record to speak for 495 runs in 54 matches. The keeper for Sri Lanka. She'll want to get close to that highest mark, 61, a top score.
Sri Lankan outfit would be more happy to see Sanjeevani at least to get about 20 or 15. That'll be the icing on the cake. The bulk of the runs has to come from this partnership, isn't it? Plenty of bowlers to come in. It's never easy, the new batter to come and straight away hit the straps in the slow pitch. That's why I think, as I said before, it's very important the batters who get set try and finish the job as soon as possible. And probably what White Ferns have in their ranks is those experienced players. They know how to build a knock. So I reckon a score of 120 is a must against a strong batting lineup, which is White Ferns.
And you can see the White Ferns have identified the conditions, sorted it out with the likes of Susie Bates getting overs here. She didn't bowl much in the ODI series. Of course, as you mentioned, very, very experienced campaigner. Has been around since 2007 for the White Ferns. Anushka Sanjeevani just puts it in the gap, a single to end that over. The 14th done now. Sri Lanka 71 for 5.
Just 6 overs left for Sri Lanka. These are the 4 wickets. Chamari Yathapat, the first delivery of the match, was gone to the off spinner. Decent crowd in, enjoying the cricket on a lovely Saturday afternoon. It's nicely played by Anushka Sanjeevani coming down the track and punching towards mid-on for a single. The singles are a must at the moment. And every over, if Sri Lanka can target one boundary each, that will be handy.
Kasparek back into the attack now. The off spinner has had a decent run today, 1 for 11 in 2.1. Back into the White Ferns side after 2 years, last played in 2021. That's a magnificent record, but unfortunately unable to break into the side until now. Big appeal. The umpire gives her out. That's the end of Kavisha Dilhari.
That was more like a plea than an appeal. And that looked dead for me. It was straight, and umpire there had no hesitation. She thought about it for a while, but in the end, probably the right decision was made by the cardinal error to go across the line. When you do that, you don't want to miss the ball, and especially getting hit in the back foot. Most of the time, umpires would be tempted to rule any batter out. There you go, taking a replay there. That's a goner for me. Definitely, probably hitting the middle stump itself.
Yeah, great bowling by Le Kasparek. Unfortunately for Sri Lanka, their big hope of getting them to that 120 run mark. Kavisha Dilhari dismissed for just 10. Sri Lanka.
.72 for 6. Sri Lanka is really looking down the barrel. The new batter, Oshadi Rana Singh, predominantly a bowler. Average of 9.17. Doesn't look promising, but at this moment, it's very important. The experience of Oshadi try to guide the Sri Lankan lineup. 73 for 6. Estelle, what do you reckon? A score of at least 100. The think tank must be thinking now rather than targeting too big, too high.
Yeah, very interesting because at the toss, Athapaththu mentioned she'd be happy with a score of 160. How much does that change when she was dismissed? With the first delivery of the over now, first delivery of the innings, now Sri Lanka looking like they might even struggle to get that 100 run mark.
Classic example of targeting too much, too early. That's where most of the teams go wrong. It's always very important to identify the conditions first rather than targeting the big scores. When I did the picture, I mentioned 120, 130. Predominantly why? Because the wicket looks abrasive and slow. 15 gone. Sri Lanka 74 for 6.
Sri Lanka 74 for 6 after 15. Just 5 overs remaining in the innings. After putting the Sri Lankans into bed, I think Sophie Devine will be really happy with how things have gone.
Bounce. Oh. Yeah, smiled by Hayden Carson after that delivery. And the spinners of Sri Lanka looking at this delivery would be like, we just want to have a turn to bowl in this pitch. Most of the day it's been slow and low. And all of a sudden, previously they shot up.
Yeah, she's been good, hasn't she? Eden Carson just started off so well with the wicket of Athapaththu, and since then hasn't given too much away in terms of runs either.
Alright, so put your shoes as a batter. If you were batting at the moment, what would be your target?
With 6 wickets down, I think first looking to get to about 100, maybe in the 18th or 19th over the way things are going. Sri Lanka don't have too many more batters to come. Sanjeevani, the last real recognized batter out there, so she'll have a lot to do. I think the first target there will be to get to the 100-run mark.
And also to bat out the 20 overs with the batswomen, beg your pardon, not for the tail enders to come in and try and play the last 2-3 overs.
Oh, yes, good.
And to make it even worse and hard, the White Ferns have been brilliant with the ball. They've been quite attacking, quite proactive in their field settings, and put immense pressure on this Sri Lankan batting lineup.
That's really nicely played by Oshadi Ranasinghe. Once again, massive gap at fine leg, and she finds the boundary. Can bat Oshadi Ranasinghe, does get a lot of runs in domestic cricket, but that's pretty low for Sri Lanka.
Smart option, isn't it? The fine leg was vacant. All she did was to get some bat, and the pace by Eden Carson delivered that ball. The rest was history. Just 10 boundaries in these innings for Sri Lanka. That's been the problem. Boundary hitting ever since Adapattu got out in the first delivery has been hard to come by. End of the 16th over, Sri Lanka 79 for 6.
Last 4 overs for Sri Lanka, 79 for 6. Vishmi Gunaratne, she's been the best batter for Sri Lanka so far in this innings. 24 balls remaining. Lee Kasparek for her last over. Great spell. Loud appeal for a run out. Umpire Chamaradi Soisa reckons that Oshadi Ranasinghe managed to complete the single. And 23 balls remaining. What sort of a score do you think Sri Lanka would get?
I mean, I think 100, you've got to say triple figure score has got to be a minimum here. I don't think New Zealand are going to be daunted by anything less than that. 110 if they bat well. But it was an opportunity for the Sri Lankan batters to show that they weren't very dependent on Chamini Adapattu, who was out first ball. But so far this innings has kind of limped through the stages. There was one good partnership early on between Vishmi Gunaratne and Harshita Samaravikrama, but there's been very little in the way of partnerships since then. There's been a whole cascade of wickets.
That's a good stroke from Manushka Sanjeevani. Her first boundary, much needed for the home team.
Yeah, and the first time we've seen, even since the early stages, the Sri Lanka batter trying to hit over the top. First sign of serious aggression. We're getting into the death overs now, and it's fantastic to see Anushka Sanjeevani, hit that nicely over cover. There is a fielder out there in the deep, but she hit it well in front of her. It's a single to follow up.
I don't think they'll be quite pleased with dot deliveries, at least for the next 3 overs. They'll need to run a ball at least, would be the minimum.
Another big LBW appeal, but no luck for Lee Kasparek on that occasion. She's been bowling well. She's right at the end of her spell now, just a single ball remaining. 2 for 20 so far. Some important wickets, some important breakthroughs to break some budding Sri Lankan partnerships.
A good turnout here at Pisara Oval. If you're around, it's free of charge for the spectators. Oshadi Ranasinghe gets a single, completes the 17th over. Good spell by Kasparek. 17 completed, 87 for 6. Susie Bates pulled single over and she's on back again. 7 bowlers rather from the White Ferns.
Yeah, New Zealand really rifling through their slower bowlers. You know, it's a reflection of how slow this pitch is.
Directed, but Anushka Sanjeevani, she's safe.
Yeah, as poor as the batting and the shot selection sometimes has been from Sri Lanka today, their running between the wickets has been consistently good. They have been pushing the New Zealand fielders, and usually getting out on, coming out on top, pushing the second run hard as well. It was a nice quick single into the infield.
Come on, Subs.
17 balls remaining for the home team. Susie Bates, what an experienced campaigner. She's been a loyal servant for the White Ferns. Yeah, you got it right, Andrew. Their running between the wickets have been very impressive.
Yeah, probably also a reflection of the fact that New Zealand haven't been at their best in terms of their fielding on this tour. Quite a few catches went down in that ODI series. Their ground fielding hasn't been especially impressive, so perhaps there's a directive from the Sri Lankan team to really push that side of their game, and in this match they've managed to do that successfully. Another quick single towards mid-wicket where there's a big gap. But Sri Lanka do really need to, at this stage of the innings, they can't just rely on these singles. These batters have been in a couple of overs now. Need to target a couple of those big boundaries. There's cover for Bates, mainly towards the leg side, in terms of Oshadi Ransingha.
Premeditated, but she gets the boundary. That's the second boundary for Oshadi Ranasinghe.
Yeah, the shot wasn't really on. It wasn't a ball that you would expect to hit a successful reverse sweep to. It was a bit short from Susie Bates. But you're right, it was completely premeditated. She saw that there was a gap out towards that deep third area, and was able to just get enough bat on it and to bisect those two fielders. It was in the air for a bit, but well away from both the short third and backward point fielders, and managed to get it right, right between them basically.
More of a reverse cut rather than a reverse sweep. It was too short by Susie Bates. Another short delivery, kept a tad low.
Yeah, I mean, you can see on that ball especially how slow this pitch is. Yes, Susie Bates did bowl it slow. Yes, she did pitch it quite short, but it came off the surface very slow, and the batters are having to make all the pace off the ball in this innings. And I suspect that New Zealand's batters, will find that they have to do that as well. They won't be able to rely on their timing so much. They'll have to provide the power themselves.
Yes, Susie.
Single to end the 18th over. Sri Lanka 97 for 6.
Yeah, you can see from the projected scores there, 6 and over gets them towards 110. I would say that's about the minimum that they should be aiming for. At the toss, I think Chamaya Adapattu said 160 would be a good score. I think probably, having seen the nature of this wicket, that's probably a little high, but certainly something, if they can get as close as possible to that 120 mark. These batters have been in for a few overs now, are a little bit, a set. They've struck a boundary each. I think Oshadi Ransinghe has hit 2. So they can target that boundary.
Brooke Halliday for her second over. Not so wide. I think if they can get to that 120, yes, Andrew, they'll be quite pleased after losing their captain in the very first ball.
And just the mere fact of Brooke Halliday bowling, you know, I think she'd bowled only a handful of overs before in her career. Bowls primarily cutters. The fact that she's on is reflection of how slow this track is. And again, a leg cutter beats a attempted reverse slap from Anushka Sanjeevani.
Yeah, Brooke Halliday, she has played 16 games. Before this game, she had bowled 3 overs in her career. And today, she'll be bowling 2 overs.
Yeah, the New Zealand team really kind of changing their strategy. I don't think at the start of the day they would have expected Brooke Halliday to be bowling 2 overs in this match. But they've seen the nature of this pitch and changed it up.
Hit well above Hannah Rowe that time, but just a couple of runs gets the 3-figure mark for Sri Lanka. Anushka Sanjeevani with that couple of runs.
Yeah, you can see the intent there, but again the ball was just coming slow off the pitch. She kind of, if she got it properly, she probably would have managed to hit that boundary behind long off. But again, the nature of this surface is hampering the shot making. Bye is there. The New Zealand keeper has been pretty good behind the stumps on a pretty, testing deck. But lets one slip through there.
9 balls remaining for Sri Lanka. How much can they get out of these 9 balls? Minimum would be 9 runs, but I think they'll be looking to get a couple of more boundaries. That will get them to closer to that 120 mark. And that's gone.
Yeah, pretty easy run out in the end. They were trying to sneak that leg by in, trying to run at all costs at this stage of an innings. And Brooke Halliday took her time with that throw. She got to the ball quickly, underarmed it gently to the wicket keeper, and it was a fairly comfortable run out in the end, an easy decision for the umpire.
Yeah, she hesitated, Anushka Sanjeevani. That probably brought the downfall. She departs after getting 18 runs. Anushka Sanjeevani, the wicketkeeper batter for Sri Lanka, 101 for 7. Udeshika Prabodhini, the new batter. It's very slow and low here at Pisara Oval.
It was very nearly a wide. Was that called wide? No, it was short and wide, the kind of ball that you'd expect to be hit. But such is the nature of this surface that the batter couldn't get any bat on it. Attempts to go over the leg side this time. This has been a fantastic over from Brooke Halliday. She'd not someone that was she'd bowled 3 overs before this, and Sri Lanka finished the 19th at 101 for 7.
Sri Lanka took 53 balls for their first 50 runs and another 57 balls for the second 50. Melika will be bowling the last over of these innings. Oshadi Ranasinghe, she'll want to keep the strike. They're pushing for the second, but good bit of fielding. If I'm not mistaken, that's Georgia Plymouth. Udeshika Prabodhini, more known for her bowling.
Yeah, it was not a great result for Sri Lanka to have their set batter off strike first ball in the final over. attempts a big heave to leg, but can't connect. That's been the story of the last couple of overs. Sri Lanka had a decent period between the 16th and 18th over. A couple of boundaries were hit, but it's just slowed down in the last 8 or 10 balls. Gets bat on it that time, and they. Oh, that's a fantastic direct hit from Amelia Kerr. Knew exactly what she was doing. It was very clear as to which end she was going to be throwing at, and got to the ball quickly, turned around, took a second to aim at those stumps and threw them down. I think she hit middle stump. There was no doubt about where that ball was headed.
Yeah, great work from Melika. Udeshika Prabodhini. She had to take that single to make sure Oshadi Ranasinghe gets on to the strike. Prabodhini, she didn't trouble the scores. Sri Lanka 102 for 8. Inoshi Fernando, she'll be on the non-striker's end. Oh, that was very
stumping
close.
there. That was I don't think that would have been too far from being out. Oshadi Ranasinghe a bit off balance as she attempted another reverse sweep, a shot that had been productive for her a little bit earlier on, but she was a little bit off balance, and the New Zealand wicketkeeper attempted to take she did take the bails off, but not out in the end.
Outside edge, running down. Crucial boundary for Sri Lanka off Oshadi Ranasinghe's bat.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how they come at this stage. And in fact, that third man region has been quite productive for Sri Lanka through the course of the innings. A few edges went through there, and a few reverse sweeps as well, proving so yet again.
Last ball. Udeshika Prabodhini.
That goes straight up.
Yeah.
Kerr is right under it. She's not going to drop that one. Another fantastic spell for Kerr, who finishes with 2 wickets, 2 caught and bowls. Earlier she'd broken an important partnership, and she finishes New Zealand's innings with a wicket. Sri Lanka 106 for 9 in their 20 overs. What do you make of that total, Damit?
Yeah, I think about 20 to 30 runs short, I reckon, on this pitch. Oshadi Ranasinghe, she was the last batter to be dismissed. The White Ferns, they'll be quite pleased. After winning the toss, they opted to field first. Sophie Devine, she reckoned that they didn't know what sort of a score they'd want to chase, but I think they'll be quite pleased chasing 107 runs. That's the giant scoreboard here at Pisara Oval grounds.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how slow this pitch is, but I don't think New Zealand will be daunted by this score. It's not really going to worry them too much. I think importantly for them, they'll want to keep those early wickets in hand. And Sri Lanka, I'm sure, will go in with quite a spin-heavy attack as they attempt to defend this. But it's not a score that will cause major worries in that New Zealand dressing room. Quite a few kind of, what did you make of that batting card? Quite a few small contributions, handy contributions, but no one really kicking on to make something substantial.
Yeah, Vishmi Gururatne, she batted for 28 balls. I think from a Sri Lankan point of view, I think they would have wanted to have 2 or 3 batters batting for at least 40-50 deliveries. Get some big partnerships. Here's the batting card. Vishmi Gururatne, 26, the highest run scorer. Other than Vishmi's contribution, Harshita, Nilakshi, Kavisha Dilhari, Anushka, Sanjeevani, Oshadi, all got to the double figures mark, but never really threatened to take the game away from the White Ferns. Chamari Atapattu, the big one, she got out in the very first ball.
Yeah, no, nothing massive in the way of partnerships either. I think Vishnu Gunaratne and Harshita Samaravikrama had 37 for the second wicket after Chamari Adapattu was out first ball, but not a lot after that.
Here's the bowlers. I think the spinners Eden Carson, Lee Kasparek and Amelia Kerr, they took 2 wickets each. Susie Bates, she took 1 wicket. 1 run out rather. The fast bowlers, they've only bowled 4 overs, Andrew.
Yeah, and you can see from how many bowlers are on that card and how many of them are spinners, what New Zealand think of this surface. Eden Carson probably made the definitive contribution in that card. She was 2 for 20, but vitally got that early first ball wicket off Chamari Adapattu. And taking a lot of the explosiveness out of this Sri Lankan batting order in the very first ball itself, and perhaps that will prove definitive yet. But Amelia Kerr, again, 2 good leg spinners as you would expect from her, and yeah, New Zealand probably very happy with that card.
Yeah, that was the first ball of the match. Chamari Adapattu being castled by Eden Carson, then Vishmi Gunaratne. She played a couple of good strokes, got 5 boundaries during her 28 ball, 26. Harshita Samaravikrama, she too got 12. They somewhat got themselves to a decent stage before Melika got the better of Vishmi Gunaratne. Sri Lanka didn't really get going against these New Zealand spinners. That's Kasparek.
A lot of wicket-to-wicket bowling from the New Zealand spinners. They tried out a few of their less the bowlers who bowl don't typically bowl a lot of overs as well. And the last couple of overs, Sri Lanka really kind of lost steam. The momentum that Urshadi Ranasinghe and Anushka Sanjeevani had built a little bit, had kind of dissipated once Anushka Sanjeevani was out.
Yeah, Melika. That was the last wicket, 106 for 9, Sri Lanka. New Zealand, they need 107 runs to win in 20 overs. So we'll be back with the run chase. Stay tuned on www.thepapadi.com, Dialogue Television Channel 126, on Dialogue View app, and as well as on Sri Lanka Cricket YouTube.
Well, welcome back to the Pisara Oval for New Zealand's run chase. The first T20 in this series, New Zealand versus Sri Lanka women. And batting first, after being put into batting first after New Zealand won the toss earlier today. Sri Lanka have only managed to make 106 for the loss of 9 wickets in their allotted 20 overs, leaving a target of 107 runs to win for New Zealand at 5.35. Sri Lankan batting, of course, they lost Chamari Atapattu of the very first delivery of the innings, and thereafter nobody really could take on the New Zealand bowling and try to get over that 120 run mark. Vishnu Gunaratne made 26, Anushka Sanjeevani 18, Oshandi Ranasinghe towards the end made 18. This is the first delivery of the New Zealand run chase, straight away off the mark. The single down towards third man. So we have Susie Bates and Bernadine out there. The two opening batters, 20 games, 193 runs, a good strike rate of 107, best score of 44. Susie Bates, of course, we know what she's capable of. Tremendous player, so much experience. Piece of a misfield. And opportunity for a single. So straight away both batters off the mark as we welcome back Hariza Maruf back into the commentary box. Susie Bates, 143 games. One of the most experienced female players now in international cricket. 106 is what Sri Lanka got, and probably a bit below the score they would have been looking for. Maha batting first.
Well, certainly, I think so. Sri Lanka's 106 underachievement as far as I'm concerned. Lots wicket in regular intervals, and the team like White Ferns need to get the runs on the board. Experience in the batting lineup, plenty of them. Only way Sri Lanka is going to win this game by picking up 10 wickets. I think bowling 20 overs, trying to restrict, chances are quite less, but picking up wickets in regular intervals is what the doctor orders for the Sri Lankans.
Yes, Udeshika Prabodhini using the new ball, the left arm medium pacer. The Sri Lankan spinners will have to come into the game. They're going to play a big role here. The New Zealand spinners bowled brilliantly. Eden Carson 2 for 20 off of 4 overs, 2 for 21 to Kasparek, and 2 for 18 to Amelia Kerr. They really dominated. The slow bowlers were very effective. So Sri Lankan spinners and the slow bowlers will have a lot of work to do.
Certainly the slow bowlers will enjoy bowling in this pitch. First over gone, 3 for no loss.
So Bernadine on 2, Susie on 1. Spin straight away.
As expected, isn't it? Against the experienced batting lineup of New Zealand, taking the pace off the pitch.
is the way forward. I think Chamariyatha Pattu knows about it. And getting the off-spinner in Inoshi from the media box end. Slip in place, which is good to see.
So Sri Lanka need to attack. They need wickets earlier on, especially in this power play. They cannot let the New Zealand batters get away. Inoshi Fernando has been using the new ball quite a bit in the power play overs, the ODI series as well.
It's quite comfortable bowling the power play down in the third ODI up in Galle. She bowled really well in the power play. I think Chamariyatha Pattu likes to use her in the power plays more like nice teaching for the men's team, isn't it? Bowling with the new ball with two fielders out. Never easy for a spinner. But I think she loves that challenge of bowling in the power play and thrives on it.
So a bit slow as well. This servers that kept a bit low. Oh, that's bit the bat outside the off stump. But this is what Sri Lanka need to make the New Zealand batters create the pace that they are looking for.
That's exactly why the slip in place. The one that doesn't turn and goes with the arm. As you speak, it's been moved away.
So that's a rather surprisingly, because Sri Lanka need wickets to win this game. They need to bowl out the opposition. The way to go is attack. Even the White Ferns, they didn't opt for a slip at all in this innings, right from ball number 1. Just probably to the left hand, a couple of deliveries. They had a slip in, but didn't persist with that. Easy single to Bernardine.
The pitch will be very good to bat with the new ball. The ball will skid onto the bat, and the batters will enjoy it. As soon as the ball loses the hardness and the shine and gets softer, that's where I think the spinners will dictate terms against this strong batting lineup of New Zealand. As you said, very important for Sri Lanka is not to give away too many runs in the power play. If they can manage to do that, a couple of wickets in the power play, I think in this middle overs can add lots of pressure to the middle order. Though it's experience, we have seen even experienced players do succumb to pressure. Full toss this time, missed out. Should have been a boundary or a 6, but straight back to mid-on. 2 overs gone, 5 for no loss.
So 2 overs, 5 on the board. Bernardine is on 3. Susie is on 4. Susie Bates. A dominant, experienced, world-class player. Susie Bates out there. A wicket is so important for Sri Lanka. Deshika Prabodhini will continue with the left arm medium pace. Picks that up early. There is cover on the boundary. But you could see the ball coming off the surface, really so lots of time for the batters to get onto the back foot to play those horizontal bat shots. Defending a small score. That's runs. Outside edge, just a single. Third over in progress. Wicketkeeper up to the stumps. He's trying to bowl a wicket to wicket, hoping that one will keep low. We saw a few dismissals in the Sri Lankan innings as well. Chamariyatha Pattu, one went straight through, zipped on. In the LBW as well of Hansika Karunaratne, kept a bit low. Oh, that's in the air. Opportunity, and she's got the wicket. Bernadine has to go. Udeshika strikes early for Sri Lanka. Bernadine looking to make use of the power play, go over the infield, but the intention was clear, the execution not working out well, and Sri Lanka picked up their first.
That time it was a slower delivery. Smart bowling, good option to have in the power play. And Udeshika Prabodhini, this was a wonderful delivery to get rid of Bernadine, who could be dangerous for Sri Lanka in the end. Loves the delivery and easily caught at mid-on. Gone for 4, New Zealand 7 for 1.
Mr. Beat, please. Let's go up center. Left arm over. Go to top.
So there you go, that's a big breakthrough. Good catch by Inoshi Fernando at mid-on. That was in the air for a while. Judged it well, got under it, and took it cleanly. So this is the breakthrough. Sri Lanka were looking for a wicket early. Amelia Kerr is out there in the centre.
This is the partnership that Sri Lanka would be wanting to break. Brilliant record, average of 24. The strike rate is over 100. She is the main batter for New Zealand, and Sri Lanka would be wanting to still see her back to the pavilion. 3 overs gone, 8 for 1.
So there you go, that was the downfall of Bernadine. Trying to slug it over mid-wicket, got a top edge. Good catch, very good catch. Inoshi Fernando showing safe hands there. So change of bowling, and just a 1 over for Inoshi Fernando. Oshadi Ranasinghe, the experienced Oshadi Ranasinghe introduced into the attack. She has done this many a time for Sri Lanka over the years, bowling in the power play. It's been very successful as well. You know, this partnership is really key here. Susie Bates, Amalia Kerr, Sophie Devine, they are the 3 top batters for New Zealand.
Just like the White Ferns, Sri Lanka bringing the changes in the power play. Good shot, good shot. And bisecting that gap, square leg was up in the circle. There was 2 fielders saving the boundary balls at long on and mid-wicket, and a good option taken by Amelia Kerr. Going with the turn, placement was right, got the elevation and the gap. Brilliant.
There's a Ranasinghe giving it a bit of air. She prefers to do that and to tease the batters to play a false shot. This time quicker, fired in. Kerr will be disappointed she didn't find the gap on that occasion.
I'm quite surprised that Chamari Athapattu has not brought Inoka Ranavira to the attack with the 2 right-hand batters in the middle. The left-arm spinner taking the ball away would be a better option as far as I'm concerned, especially in the power play. Only 2 fielders outside the circle. Both the spinners are offies, which will be turning back into the right-hand batters. So that's an option for sure Chamari Athapattu could use, and interesting to see in the next 2 overs if she brings that change, which I think she should.
Yes, certainly. But what I've also noticed in the past, or seen in the past, Maha, Inoka Ranavira bowls very less in the power plays, and she generally likes to bowl in those middle overs towards the end of the innings. Probably she's not that comfortable with the new ball, but yes, with those right-handers in, her left-arm spinning option will be gold at the moment.
Yeah, maybe she must be quite comfortable, as you said, to bowl after the power play with 4 fielders outside the circle. But I just think Sri Lanka to win this game, she has to play a big role
4 overs of Inoka will be the key.
Yes, she has been the standout bowler for Sri Lanka over the last couple of years, whatever format it is. Remember in the Commonwealth Games, she dominated proceedings, won Sri Lanka game single-handedly with the ball. Slightly short but unable to get it away. 4 was completed, 14 for the loss of 1 wicket.
Decent start for Sri Lanka in the power play so far. They've kept New Zealand down to 14. Getting that wicket, Bernardine Wazedenhout.
Yeah, and just a single boundary conceded so far. Amelia Kerr hitting one a slog sweep in the last over.
Takes the aerial route, Susie Bates. That's brilliant fielding. Kavisha Dilhari just gets her hand on it, stops it.
Yeah, it was fantastic commitment. Really ran that one down hard. I thought from the moment it left the bat, I thought they had 4 written all over it. But Dilhari really went herring after it and pulled it back just about a foot inside the ropes, putting in a dive at the end.
Just on how Sri Lanka have kept the White Ferns down. Inoshi Fernando played the 3rd ODI. That's a brilliant shot from Susie Bates. She finds the boundary. Missed out in the previous occasion. This time, just finds a gap behind square.
Yeah, a bit too short and wide from Inoshi Fernando. That deserved to be hit the way it did. But Susie Bates, I think we're seeing, is really looking to turn up the heat now. She's been at the crease for a bit, and now is attempting to get that run rate, that required rate, up to where it needs to be to get New Zealand a little bit ahead of the game. They were a bit slow to start off with, but with those 2 boundaries showing some serious intent now.
Yeah, before Bates hit that boundary, I was about to say that Inoshi Fernandez offered a lot of control to Sri Lanka, especially in the 3rd ODI. His field on that occasion gives away a single.
Yeah, 9 runs off the first 3 balls of this over. And you see the effect of that first boundary. Bates came down the track and forced Inoshi Fernando to pull the length back for the second ball, and created that second boundary through backward point. Some good batting, and now she's got herself down the other end, Amelia Kerr, to face up.
Once again down the track, and again brilliant fielding from Dilhari. She's been fantastic in all 3 departments in this tour so far.
Yeah, she's shown a bit of intent with the bat as well when in her little innings didn't get to carry it on. Just made the 10 off 9 balls, but one of the few batters to score better than a run and ball with the bat, and now throwing herself out on the field as well. Has saved about probably 3 runs this over.
You have to think that these are the crucial wickets for Sri Lanka. Susie Bates, Amelia Kerr and Sophie Devine to come. That middle order hasn't made too many runs on tour so far. Even in the practice game, weren't too impressive against the spinners. So Sri Lanka will know they can make a couple of breakthroughs here. They do have a chance of keeping New Zealand below their target.
Yeah, and this is where a lot of the experience is, and you can see that from the way that these 2 are batting now. They're coming down the track and making a lot of the play, getting themselves some momentum into the shot. Again, Kerr shuffles down the pitch. That was a bit short, ends up playing a cut shot in the end. But on a pitch as slow as this, they know that you've got to use your feet a bit. New Zealand 23 for 1 after 5 overs.
Oshdi Ranasinghe to continue.
Nice and slow through the air that time. Bates waits for it, tries to cut it or chop it away, but doesn't get any bat on it.
Yeah, you spoke about experience in the previous over. Susie Bates, she's had plenty of it. Top run scorer in women's T20 internationals. No one really that close to her even. So she's got plenty of experience, has played since 2007. She'll know, though she's not that familiar with these conditions, she'll know how to play this situation. Not a huge target for New Zealand to chase down.
Yeah, and Divine to come. I think the second most experienced player in New Zealand's batting order. And you know, I mean, Amelia Kerr is only 22, but she's been around a long time. And, you know, I think you would count her as an experienced player as well. Pulls that one hard, beautifully struck there. Again, the spinner dropping short from Sri Lanka, and Kerr back really fast on that one to pull that away, muscle that away through the cow corner region. Spotted the length really quickly there.
Yeah, she's been brilliant all tour. Just the way how quick she is to pick up the length, then get the boundary. Definitely, we say one for the future, but she's already an established player in this New Zealand side.
Yeah, I mean, she's been playing since she was 15, and you know, what an asset to have in your team, to have someone who can bat at number 3 like this. And early in the day, she picked up 2 for 18 with very high quality leg spin, and a massive asset to any team, especially at 22 years old. She's got a long career ahead of her, and has already played for you know, 7 years. I remember her debut. I mean, she was 15, bowling leg breaks. You know, she's not a massive player now, but she, you know, looked very much like a 15-year-old. She top edges that one over the keeper, but falls safe between the 2 fielders, and she'll pick up another 2 there. But yeah, Kerr, what a, you know, owner of the biggest women's innings, 234, I think that was against. 232. Estelle's just corrected me, against Ireland.
And I believe she was like 17 or 18 when she scored that 232. Definitely the next in line to take over the leadership also, I think, for the White Ferns.
And chops that away, again dropping short, and that's been struck away between cover and mid-off for 4. Really beautifully placed.
Yeah, that's the end of the power play. A good power play for the White Ferns. New Zealand 34 for 1.
They were 14 for 1 when we came up. 20 runs in the last 2 overs. .34 for 1 at the end of the power play in New Zealand. Sri Lanka leaking 20 runs in the last 2 overs of that power play. Really need to pull this one back, change the momentum a bit. Desperately need a wicket. You know, they don't have a lot of runs to play with here. Defending just 106.
That's the last delivery of the power play. Once again, Kerr just picking the length so quickly. Quick on the back foot, and finds the gap between extra cover and mid-off.
Yeah, the placement on that shot was you know, she could have hit it almost anywhere on the offside, but she perfectly bisected that gap between cover and mid-off.
Inoka Ranavira into the attack. You'd have to think that she'll have a huge role to play. Sri Lanka are going to defend this total. Sri Lanka's joint top wicket taker with 77 wickets in T20s. She's equal with Shashikala Sirivardhana, former captain. Also named in the ICC T20 Team of the Year last year. So she's coming in with some good form from 2022.
Yeah, enormously experienced. Yeah, as Estelle said, 77 wickets, an economy rate of 5.72. Vital in this format. Oh, there's an appeal, but I think that was a wide. I don't think the batter got any touch on that.
Yeah, optimistic from Anushka Sanjeevani behind the stumps, possibly trying to distract the umpire a little bit because it did go down the leg side.
Really slowing it up here in Ranavira. That came off the inside edge and they hair through for a single. Using all that experience, she'll have bowled on plenty of pitches like this through the course of her career. She knows exactly what to do in these kinds of situations. But this is a really important over and a really important spell for her. You know, she's the one that maybe Sri Lanka will look to for that big breakthrough, just to break the momentum of that this partnership has built up.
Yeah, like I said, has been the key to Sri Lanka's success over the last couple of years. The partnership between Ranavira and Ranasinghe has been tremendous.
Big appeal, but a no straight away from the umpire. Was that a bit too leg side? Possibly. Maybe that was going down leg. Look from up here like it was a slightly optimistic appeal. Kerr missing the big sweep. Oh, it looks a little bit closer on the replay actually than I thought, but maybe the umpire thought it wasn't doing enough, it wasn't turning enough.
Yeah, Ranavira got plenty of wickets in that fashion in her career. Unable to get bat on ball, but immediately rotates the strike. I think that'll be the key for New Zealand. They'll want to take as many singles as possible against Inoka Ranavira. Just keep the scoreboard ticking over.
Yeah. And Sri Lanka haven't quite made enough to make them need those boundaries. You know, there's not a lot of pressure on them. They can afford to play out the better Sri Lanka bowlers. Because they've had a couple of big overs and now they can kind of afford to accumulate for a little bit. It's 38 for 1 after 7 overs.
New Zealand now requiring 69 runs in 13 overs. As you mentioned, Andrew, not that many runs on the board, so they don't need to take too many risks. Can play out a couple of overs from the likes of Inoka Ranavira.
Kavisha Dilhari into the attack now with her off breaks. 18 wickets from 35 matches. Economy rate a little on the high side at 6.4. What can she do? First one floated very gently up, you have to say. Bates attempting a reverse paddle. New Zealand's run rate and required rate both at around 5.3 and over, so they're right where they need to be, right where they'd want to be, and these two will want to keep this partnership going for as long as possible. As Estelle mentioned earlier, not a lot of batting to come behind Sophie Devine. So these two will want to break the back of this chase in this partnership.
That's a nice sweep from Amelia Kerr once again. Fortunately, Sri Lanka have some cover on the leg side for the off spinner. Just picks up a single.
Just so judicious with their stroke play. You know, they seem to have settled into some a bit of a holding pattern with the singles and twos. But as soon as she saw something that was a bit leg side, she went for another big shot.
Very tricky for Chamari Athapattu with the field setting because she knows she doesn't have too many runs on the board. So does she try to bring the field up, restrict the white ferns, just allow them to take those singles and hope that they make a mistake?
Down the track again, Kerr, but can't make a lot out of that one. Almost yorked herself, I think. She was.
Good start for Kavisha Dilhari, ruined by that last delivery. Amelia Kerr, I beg your pardon, finds the boundary. It's brilliant end. 8 overs done. New Zealand 45 for 1.
Each other's way. 106 for 9, but Sri Lanka mustered. In reply, New Zealand 45 for 1, going well. The experience of the White Fern showing, and Amelia Kerr and Susie Bates have been magnificent so far. 16 of 20 deliveries for Susie Bates, Amelia Kerr 23 of 17. Sri Lanka bringing in the changes. Karanavira from the far end. Nicely bowled. I've been joined by a sports lover who's in Sri Lanka and knows about his cricket as well. His Excellency Michael Appleton is the High Commissioner for Sri Lanka. Good morning to you, Michael. Good to have you on board.
Thanks for having me.
White Fern's going really well, isn't it? 106 for 9, but Sri Lanka mustered, and in reply, the Ferns has been in superb form right throughout the series. Unfortunately, lost the one-day series, but they look good to go 1-0 up.
Yeah, I mean, by far their best bowling performance of the tour so far for the White Ferns, and they really have for themselves here a very gettable target, and two very experienced and accomplished batters at the wicket right now, who are charting the course very solidly at the moment.
Absolutely. The experience in cricket goes a long way. Beautifully played. Was short. Only find the fielder at cover point. And you did meet both the teams. And you being a sports lover, what do you reckon of White Fern's growth ever since they started playing women's cricket?
Yeah, I mean, I think from the beginning of the White Ferns, and they were involved in the very first Women's World Cup back in 1973, they've aspired to being the best team in the world, and at points in their history, especially in the 90s, and then moving into 2000 World Cup, they've achieved that.
They certainly have produced many good cricketers. This is a good shot. Found that gap through cover point. Wasn't that much. But that's the class of Amelia Kerr. The fine of boundaries and an important one for White Ferns.
Yeah, I mean, one difficulty for the Sri Lankans is that they have such a modest total that they're defending. They need reasonably attacking fields, but with players of a player of Kerr's skill who can find the gaps and find the boundaries, really whittles down the total very quickly and puts Sri Lanka in a harder and harder position.
The only way Sri Lanka is going to win this game is by picking up 10 wickets. Simple as that. I think this is where the proactiveness of the captaincy of Chamari will be tested as well. You need to pick up wickets against a strong batting lineup when you're chasing a small score. Beautifully blown. Slowing things down in the front foot. Cardinal error. Not so good in football skills, and gifting a single to end the 9th over. 53 for 1.
boundary has been found as well. You've been a huge fan of sports, I should say. Been based in Sri Lanka for the last 2 years. Your thoughts on the passion of sports for Sri Lankans when it comes to rugby, cricket and football?
Yeah, well, I think the things that Sri Lankans most know about New Zealand, other than dairy products, are rugby and cricket. So the Black Caps and the All Blacks are very, very widely known, and the White Ferns are becoming so because of this tour. And so there's a lot of passion there with Sri Lankans really wanting to talk about those two sports with me.
Absolutely. Sandy next to you is an All Black fan as well, just to let you know. And when it comes to Super 15, I support Crusaders. I'm pretty sure that you'd support the best team as well.
Well, just on the All Blacks, I don't think that I've been to any other country in the world other than New Zealand that has had as many All Blacks fans as Sri Lanka. It's very unusual. I think it's a shame that you support the Crusaders, and you may want to reconsider that as a Wellingtonian.
I got my favourite player played for Wellington, which was Tana Umanga, but I had the opportunity of meeting Dan Carter and Richie Mako when we were touring in New Zealand, I think way back in 2008 or 7. Ever since then, a Crusader fan for sure. Rugby in Sri Lanka is massive as well these days. Lots of rugby, school rugby being played with Papre showing most of the games, or in fact all the games. And the passion for rugby, especially in school, is massive.
Yeah, I've been to quite a lot of schools, clubs, club games, and you're right about the quality and the passion. And I guess the challenge is to try to lift that from that level to the elite level. The All Blacks are interesting too, like the White Ferns, the Black Ferns, the New Zealand rugby women's rugby team has become more and more popular in New Zealand, and some of the most captivating moments on televised sport in New Zealand in the last few years have been the Black Ferns winning vital finals, and I think that's one thing that we're hoping with the White Ferns and the Sri Lanka women's team becoming more and more popular and visible in the media, is that there'll just be much greater support for elite women's sport moving forward in both of our countries, Sri Lanka and New Zealand.
Tenno is gone. White Fern 60 for 1. Come back out of the water drinks break. 60 for 1 is White Ferns at the moment. 10 overs gone. 47 runs, beg your pardon. Bernardine was caught at mid-on for 4, and ever since then, Susie Bates and Amelia Kerr, what a wonderful partnership. Susie 22 of 26 deliveries, and Amelia 32 of 23 has been the aggressor.
Yeah, they both look very comfortable, but Kerr in particular has been able to find gaps and find boundaries almost at will, and really propel the White Ferns towards a position of extreme strength. And as you mentioned earlier, Sri Lanka are going to have to take some quick wickets here if they are to get back into this match.
Yeah, only successful bowler Udeshika. That slow delivery, Bernardine skied one in the air. Apart from that, the wicket columns remains 0 to everybody else, which Sri Lanka needs to pick up somehow to stay in the game. If not, they will be going 1-0 down in this 3-game bilateral series. This was the wicket of Bernardine. Slow delivery and a neat catch at mid-on. And at that occasion, Sri Lanka would have wanted more, but ever since then, Amelia and Susie has been finding boundary diddies with some good cricketing strokes, not trying to slog. It's all about timing and placement in these wonderful batting conditions.
Yeah, and Kerr's really benefited from her time in the women's IPL. And I think part of the benefit that T20 gives to players is, you know, the real emphasis on placement and keeping the scoring going. And that is really a characteristic of her game now.
Absolutely. I think more women goes and plays in these leagues. The atmosphere in the dressing room is different. You got ladies from each countries representing, and personally I had that opportunity playing in the IPL, and the amount of lessons I've learned to pick up things, as well as my childhood hero was Glenn McGrath. To play alongside him was one of the proud feather in my cap as well. So these are the opportunities ladies getting as well, with women's IPL coming, and more other countries will have their leagues as well.
You know, some people say that that what you're talking about, players from different teams mixing in leagues like this, can sometimes remove the competitive edge when they do play against each other on the international stage. Was that your experience?
Absolutely, you're spot on there. I mean, when it comes to the weakness and strengths, let's say for example I play alongside a Pakistani. So I was played against Shoaib Malik for a couple of years. I mean, all the strength and weaknesses we knew about as an opponent, but being in the dressing room, training with him, you identify that even more, and probably bring that to the national team, and you're having the team meetings, you could spread it around. So that's why I think nothing remains secret now. Everything is out there, and all the players in the world, men and women, do play a lot of franchise cricket, so nothing remains secret. Nicely played. Pretty good of fielding at Squalik, just twisting to full single.
Yeah, and I think the analytical tools that are available to all the sides now mean that it is much, much easier for teams to hone in on weaknesses, whether of a bowler or a batter, and to really try to, take advantage of that. Something that was, maybe more intuitive or harder to do a generation or so ago. And so as a result of that, you can see very, very good batters, including someone like Steve Smith, can be found out in particular conditions because his opponents might work out that he's not very good in this particular situation or that particular situation.
Yeah, we'll continue this continuation in the next over. 11 gone, 64 for 1. The summary so far: New Zealand won the toss, elected to field first, restricted Sri Lanka for 106 for 9 with a brilliant bowling effort. In reply, 64 for 1 after 11 overs. Just walk in the park at the moment, needing 43 runs in 54 deliveries, doing with ease. We're talking about players playing franchise cricket. I think cricket has evolved and changed ever since the 2008 IPL started. Personally, I was there, and amount of learning, as well as when a cricketer, the lifespan is small, you make the buck as you play as a professional. And once the IPL started, most other countries have followed suit, and as you said, correctly said, everything to be seen now.
So I guess the question here is, how can Sri Lanka try to build pressure on the White Ferns? How can they stop runs being scored so that the White Ferns are put in a position where they have to, take some risks? Just see they're just coming down the pitch, hitting it sedately down to long on, take the single. There's just no pressure on the White Ferns at the moment, and I guess that's a question for Sri Lanka and their captain. How can they try to manufacture some pressure here in a situation that doesn't have much?
I reckon and the bowling. Oh, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Short mid-wicket fielder. For a moment I thought it evaded her, but in the end it was struck well by Amelia Kerr, just finding the fielder, and she flew to her left. I think it's No-show Prabodhini was the catcher. It was a magnificent catch, just what Sri Lankans needed.
Yeah, and that's how you build the pressure, as you take a sensational catch like that. My instinct was the same as yours. I thought that was definitely past the fielder, but she managed to hurl herself towards it and took it with relative comfort, it seems, and the very dangerous Amelia Kerr gone, and for 34 off 28, New Zealand 65 for 2.
Sophie Devine, the new batter for New Zealand, the captain, walking in at number 4. Talking about experience, she has had a magnificent career. Take a look at those numbers. Average of almost 30 in T20 cricket is brilliant.
Well, it's such a long career. She's been playing for such a long time for the Whiteferns and being an integral part of this side, and she adds a solidity and an experience to the Whiteferns batting lineup, precisely for situations like this where she can guide the side home to what should be a victory.
Squalic fielder and brilliantly caught. 2 wickets in this over, just what the doctor ordered for Sri Lanka. They needed wickets to stay in the game, and 2 big wickets of Amelia Kerr first, and now skipper Sophie Devine gone without scoring.
I mean, that was in some ways a more difficult catch than the first one, because it took a long time to get to her. She had to sight it. She had to sight it off a very difficult background, and then take it on the boundary. It was less an instinctive catch and more one where she had time to think about it, but she took it again comfortably. And now the Whiteferns, having lost 2, Devine gone for a duck off 2 balls. New Zealand 65 for 3, and not in trouble, but the match has turned.
Sri Lankans back in the game for sure. 2 wickets in this over. Amelia Kerr first, and then Sophie Devine. Maddie Green, the batter at number 5. Decent numbers, can improve, but just what the Sri Lankans need has been accomplished. Just have to keep going, picking up wickets. Pressure can do wonders. Oh, outside edge beaten. 12 gone, 65 for 3. Uh, 65 for 3. People who joined in have been joined by His Excellency Michael Appleton, New Zealand High Commissioner for Sri Lanka. At the moment, Sri Lankans are fighting back, trying to get into the game.
They are. The Whiteferns need to remember that their target, not much more than 5 and over. They really just need to play this around here. They don't need to play super attacking strokes, which put their wickets in danger. So I would expect some sort of consolidation here for the next few overs. We'll see, to try and get this chase back on an even keel.
What I'd like to see is one more fielder at least in the circle, trying to put that pressure back on the batters. This is where
I mean the big gap at mid-wicket means that a single pushed into the onside should be fairly straightforward with the right ball.
Shot this time. Bounced and find that gap between square leg and mid-wicket. This is what Sri Lanka cannot afford to do.
Yeah, I mean that was the opposite of what Sri Lanka needed. Really a long hop. That was a ball that was asking to be hit to the boundary, and it was. And every time the Whiteferns get a boundary, their position will they get that much closer to the finish line?
Yeah, definitely called it right, Michael. A long hop, dealt pretty easily. He's been in Sri Lanka for the last 2 years. The relationship between Sri Lanka and New Zealand, the bilateral relationship, has been brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a very, I guess, interesting or unusual time in Sri Lanka the last 2 years. Here's another signal's taken to long on there. But I suppose what the economic crisis in Sri Lanka has provided the opportunity for is to us, New Zealand and Sri Lanka, to work out ways in which we can work together to try to help bring Sri Lanka out of the crisis. You know, whether that be on agriculture or on state sector reform or whatever it is. And so, yeah, things are looking pretty good.
Yeah, certainly thankful for New Zealand, for India, and many other countries who helped Sri Lanka out of the economic crisis. And to be honest, I lived through that era, which is unforgettable. I think at the moment, future is looking bright with everything coming back to normalcy. It's all about being proactive and being ready for any moment, isn't it? The COVID has had a major impact. Then the economic crisis, I think, as a Sri Lankan lived through that, I could proudly say that we have come a long way since those months.
Yeah, and I think the question now is how, well, for me at least, how can New Zealand work with Sri Lanka as it seeks to move further along that process of economic recovery? Because, you know, a lot of Sri Lankans have been really harmed by the economic crisis, and what's important for that economic recovery is that everybody can start to see their livelihoods come back again.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure having you on commentary with us, Your Excellency, and hopefully New Zealand will win from this moment.
Thanks for having me.
New Zealand 73 for 3. Here are the wickets. That was Bernardine Bezuidenhout, caught nicely at mid-on.
On the boundary. At that time, a very important wicket that was.
Bates really the key player here. You suspect that if she's there towards the 18th, 19th overs, New Zealand will probably be cruising towards a victory. They don't have much to achieve in the way of a required run rate. Only need to go at 4.5, a tick over 4.5 and over. So there's no pressure on them from the run rate side of things. Sri Lanka need to manufacture a couple more wickets here. They just had a double wicket over. Then Inoshi Fernando bowled the 12th of the innings. But again, you know, they didn't make so many runs. They got 106, 107 to get for New Zealand to win. And these two batters very capable of just cruising there.
It's Susie Bates. I think that's the key wicket for Sri Lanka. She's the set batter now. 32 going at almost a runner ball. And Inoshi Fernando, she's bowled well. Oh, that's close, that's out. That's out from here. We thought that was straight enough. And umpire Chalmers Soiza thought that would go on to hit the stumps. That's another big wicket for Inoshi. She's bowled really well, Inoshi Fernando. She's been very active, very vibrant. And bit of a turn, beat the inside part of the bat, struck the front pad, and probably That would have been a clip in those stumps, clicking the leg stump, and umpire Chamara Soiza thought so. Raises his finger. Maddie Green has to depart for just a 5. Sri Lanka have picked up another wicket. It's 77 for 4.
Georgia Plimmer, the new batter in. It was beautifully. She's in because of another nicely flighted ball from Inoshi Fernando. It really was a turn that beat Maddie Green's forward push. Do Sri Lanka have a sniff now?
That was close. That was close. She was on the back foot. If she missed that one, she would have been a goner. Inoshi Fernando has brought Sri Lanka back into this game. She's picked up 3 wickets in the last couple of overs. 13 games, just 58 runs, and not much to talk about. Georgia Plimmer
Gets a single and gets off strike. Or retains the strike rather. And that's 78 for 4 after 14 overs for New Zealand.
So Sri Lanka striking back quite quickly. Picked up the second wicket after that. A very good partnership at 65. The third fell at 65 as well. And now the fourth at 77. They have to keep chipping away. Susie Bates holding one end.
Yeah, and the bad news for Sri Lanka is that Inoshi Fernando, who has made so much of the running through this middle period, she took a double wicket. She bowled a double wicket over and then picked up the wicket of Maddie Green in the last over. Has finished with figures of 3 for 17, so they've got no more overs from her left. It'll be up to the rest of the bowlers to continue exerting the pressure that she managed to build.
So certainly the other wicket taker is brought back into the attack with Ashika. She picked up the first wicket to fall. She's done a decent job, been very accurate, not given anything away at all.
And if Sri Lanka can pick up Bates here, I think that's really going to be the key to whether they can defend. New Zealand only have 27 more runs to get, plenty of overs to do it in. But the wicket of Bates is the one that'll really kind of set the cat among the pigeons in the New Zealand dressing room.
New Zealand comfortable, knocking it around, picking up those singles. As you mentioned earlier, nothing much in the required run rate, well within their range, just over 4 runs per over. And they could get there comfortably, picking up the ones and the twos. But they will not want to expose their low order.
Yeah, it's not one that scored a lot of runs in this tour especially. Georgia Plimmer did make a 23 in the first one day and a 10 not out in the second one. But it hasn't been one of their strengths, New Zealand, particularly in conditions like this. So Susie Bates' experience kind of really vital to New Zealand at the moment.
Keeping it stump to stump, slow medium pace. The batters have to create the pace that they're looking for. Nothing much to work with. And when you bowl wicket to wicket, it's not easy at all, especially for the new batter.
Yeah, it's good bowling. She's a strong offside field, but it's 15 overs gone now. New Zealand are 82 for 4.
Sri Lanka just made 106 in the 20 overs, which made Gunaratna looked good for the 26 contributions from Oshadi Ranasinghe and Anushika as well, 18 each. The spinners dominated for New Zealand, Amelia Kerr, Eden Carson, and the newcomer into this 20 side, Kasparik, picked up 2 wickets as well. Now these 2 overs from Inoka Ranavira are going to be crucial. These are the 2 key overs that probably would make or break this game. If Inoka Ranavira can pick up some wickets here, Sri Lanka will feel that have some chance in this game. She's been Sri Lanka's top bowler over the last couple of years, whether it's been played in Sri Lanka or overseas. She's picked up lots of wickets and she's been very accurate as well.
Yeah, the Susie Bates, Inoka Ranavira battle really is the key one here. 2 enormously experienced players. Inoka Ranavira has, been bowling on these kinds of surfaces for a long time and been successful on them for a long time. Down the track, and that's lofted over the infield. A couple of bounces, just a single bounce over the boundary for 4. That's a fantastic shot from Georgia Plymouth. Took the risk. Ranavira was looking to dart that one in, but Plymouth was good enough to get down there and lifted it brilliantly. Hit that nicely, didn't she, Ricky?
Yes, certainly using her feet well. There was a bit of a risk factor, but she was confident enough she could get it over that mid-on fielder. That shot will release the pressure a bit and release the pressure for Susie Bates as well at the other end. She's been hit at the non-striker's end.
I think that hit her bat. It was a single to long off the bat of Bates. Oh no, it hit her in the body actually. Hit her in the ribs, but she doesn't seem to be too troubled by it. Just 18 to get now for New Zealand. 6 wickets in hand. Oof.
That was very slow, just slowed it up quite a lot, looped it outside that off stump.
And stayed extremely low too. I think that shows you what kind of surface this match has been played on. And makes you wonder what Sri Lanka might have been able to do had they got to 130, 135. It's not the kind of track where you need to score a huge amount of runs. It's, all the batters have found it hard to score those boundaries.
Yes, certainly Susie Bates by far has been the most comfortable, 36 of 40, but even then she generally scores at more than a run a ball. Today she has taken her time, adjusted to the conditions really well. This is what experience is all about. Played the situations very well, Susie Bates.
That one stayed low too, as Plymouth tried to sweep that away.
So I just have that feeling that Plymouth is trying to hit a way out of this. She's playing a few shots, which is good in a way, without just hanging around, trying to take on Inoka Ranavira.
Yeah, New Zealand's best interest to try and finish it off quickly, get that comfortable win. They would have been a bit shocked after that ODI series defeat. But it's 16 overs now, 91 for 4 for New Zealand.
So there you go. New Zealand getting closer to that target. The required run rate just 4.4 runs per over from here onwards. Oshadi Ranasinghe now back into the attack, replacing Inoka Fernando, who is bowled out. She had a brilliant day. 3 for 17 off of 4 overs for Inoka Fernando. Oshadi Ranasinghe into a fourth over as well, has gone for 22. Hasn't been able to pick up a wicket yet.
Yeah, just knocking it around, these two. I think Susie Bates has been doing that all innings. Comes down and gets another single into that. Actually, they're running two. That's good running. They're going to make that comfortably. But there's a big gap in that leg side towards that cow corner area, and they made the early decision to charge back for the second.
It's Susie Bates using all that experience. She's taken it upon herself to ensure that she sees the White Ferns home in this game. But throughout the innings, hasn't taken any risk at all.
And it was important for New Zealand to kind of reclaim some of that momentum after kind of being shell-shocked by that Chamari Atapattu innings in that third ODI in goal. They're doing that pretty comfortably here. Always feels better in a team, in a dressing room after a win, after you've started a series well.
Comes down the track, straight over the bowler's head. That's beautifully played. Susie Bates had her very best, using her feet against Oshadi Ranasinghe and going straight, safe as a dice. Picks up another boundary.
Timed that beautifully, didn't she? It absolutely flew off her bat. There's no chance of that ever being cut off. And we've seen this a lot from New Zealand today. They've recognised, the batting orders recognised that it's a slow track with that boundary. Susie Bates also brings up New Zealand's 100.
Yes, so 17 overs in the process has been completed, 100 for 4.
Just a few runs to get now. Just 7 to win. New Zealand on the verge of going 1-0 up in this series, unless Kavisha Dilhari, I think it is, with the ball, can do something special, can do something unusual.
Probably a hat-trick is needed. Andrew,
just 6 quick wickets, Ricky. That's all it'll take. 6 quick wickets and a good turnaround.
That was that last shot from Susie Bates. 43 of 44. Georgia Plymouth has added some momentum, 11 of 12. She's played a couple of shots, not afraid to use her feet. Oh, that's close, that's out, is it?
Oh,
that looked very close, probably an inside edge. Could have saved, but that looked very straight. Hit the back leg as well, Andrew, I thought so.
Yeah, let's watch the replay here. Maybe turning too much, maybe turning too far to the leg side. From up here, from this distance, it looked like it was headed towards the stumps, but I think the umpire makes a good call on that one. That was turning quite a bit, but a beautifully flighted delivery by Kavisha Dilhari to get the batter to play a false stroke there.
It's certainly umpire Chamra Soiza has had a good game. That looked close in initial impact, but probably, like you mentioned, that bit of turn would have missed the leg stump. And he's made some very good decisions. That stump in earlier on, the LBW, very experienced now, coming up the ranks quite quickly. Sri Lankan umpiring. Slightly too full. Easier for the batters just to chip it around.
Yeah, it has been a I wonder what the next matches as we look ahead to Monday, what kind of track they'll get for that, because this one has clearly a worn surface that was used today, and that's kind of dominated the way that both these teams have had to go about the way they play. New Zealand have adapted quite nicely, despite being the team who are playing away from home. The way they use their slower bowlers, the way they went to their stocks in terms of their their part-time bowlers even, who came in and bowled a few cutters, used their spinners a lot. The fast bowlers, I think, bowled only 4 overs in their innings, so they recognised early on what kind of surf it was, and kept Sri Lanka down to that very achievable target. And with the bat, they've come down the crease a lot and created a lot of their own momentum. They knew that it's not the kind of track where you can just stay back in your crease and time the ball. You need to put some muscle into your shot, get some movement into your shots. And they've targeted that kind of that V area, that players from New Zealand tend to do. It's a big appeal, and this one is given Kavisha Dilhari with an arm ball. Gets the better of the batter there, Susie Bates, out for 44, but you suspect that she's done her job. New Zealand just 4 runs away from victory here, but Kavisha Dilhari will definitely remember that wicket. It's an important one, or it's a big one.
Yes, certainly, Andrew. She's troubled both batters in this over. A couple of times they were beaten in the flight, hit on the pads, and this time Susie Bates trying to work it towards the mid-on, missed it completely. She's out for a well-made 44, 18 overs completed, 103 for 5. Well, going into the next 2 games also, you were talking about the surface. I don't feel there will be much change. Probably the wickets here will play in a similar fashion in the next 2 games as well, so that's why probably New Zealand thought so they'll use all their bowlers, see what options they have with the ball in this first game. Sri Lanka will get their thinking caps on as well. Hanaro, 35 games, just 98 runs. Strike rate is good, 102, highest score of 27, not out. She did really well with the ball today, picking up 2 wickets. So 18.1 overs. Deshika put in a final over.
Yeah, it does look a pretty tired square here. End of season square at the Pisara Oval. Generally, this is a track that has a bit of bounce. This is a venue that has quite a bit of bounce, but we absolutely haven't seen that today. A lot of balls keeping low. Perhaps that is to be the theme of the series. Looking at the rest of this square.
It's not the normal surface we'll get here at the Oval. Generally, there is some bounce, some good carry through, good batting track.
It's one where the seamers generally look forward to bowling at, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's not known to be a spin bowling surface. Of many of the surfaces in South Asia, I would say, this has a reputation for bounce more than just about anything. But we haven't seen that at all today.
Yes, exactly. When you play Test match cricket, visiting teams generally like to prefer to play at the Oval because they know there will be some grass, there will be some carry, and visiting fast bowlers and even Sri Lankan fast bowlers over the years have done well here at the Oval. But,
perhaps the New Zealand team will be aware that the men's team, Tim Southee and Trent Boult have actually got quite a lot of wickets here. I think they've won here the last 2 times they've played. That's a quick single, and if she had hit, maybe Georgia Plymouth would have been in trouble there. But it was a quick single to mid off, but they make it and they run an overthrow, and I think that's the game.
That's the game for New Zealand. It was a close call, a close shave, directed. Probably would have given Sri Lanka, yes, another wicket, but they got the overthrow in the meantime. And New Zealand have sealed this first T20, winning by 5 wickets. It has been a closer game than we thought. So Sri Lanka just making that 106 for 9 in their allotted 20 overs, and New Zealand have got their in 18.5 overs. So it hasn't been easy for them. But Susie Bates, with all her experience, 44, has ensured they got home. And Amelia Kerr, she's been in excellent form, 34 for her as well, has ensured the white firms have got over Sri Lanka and taken this first T20 in this 3-match T20 series here at the Oval.
Yeah, Inertia Fernando injected a little bit of excitement into those middle overs, getting 3 for 17 in her 4-over spell. But it was always too few runs, wasn't it, for Sri Lanka? Sri Lanka needed to be closer to that 130, 135 range. And if they had been, they would have been a really competitive total on this surface. But New Zealand, you have to say, probably the team that adapted better to the conditions, despite being the away team. They've had a little bit of experience in these kinds of surfaces in Gaul in the one-dayers, and today they went to use the full complement of bowlers, and their batters really understood which parts of the ground you need to target in these kinds of conditions, and they've got across the line pretty comfortably in the 18th over.
Yes, I said it was a good game, though. A good game of T20 cricket. And both teams were very competitive. And New Zealand will be the happier side. Smiles back on their faces after losing that ODI series. They were expected to easily topple Sri Lanka in both the ODI series and in this T20 series. But things haven't gone their way. Chamaria Athapattu has stood in between and won that ODI series. Today she failed, she was out early, but Sri Lanka, yes, they will take the positives from this game, come back strongly in the next game. They know what the surfaces will look like, and I'm sure they will come back strongly. But New Zealand, the happier side, as the teams shake hands, the coaching staff as well, and it's good to see. We have had a few spectators watching this game today. And that is good to see. The followers of women's cricket, you need the support for women's cricket, and it's good to see all those ladies, gents, everybody, cricket lovers here at the Oval watching this first T20. We take a look at the batting card, and there you go, Bernadine. She was out early for 4. Then Susie Bates and Amelia Kerr, that partnership of 65 got them close. Bates 44, Malika 34. Quick wicket, Sophie Devine fell early. Just in her third delivery, she was out without scoring. Maddie Green too fell for 5, but Georgia Plymouth ensured that New Zealand got over the mark, and with 7 deliveries to spare, get into 107 for the loss of 5 wickets.
And the bowling card for Sri Lanka, Inertia Fernando, the standout there with 3 for 17, Udeshika Prabodhini and Kavisha Dilhari getting a late wicket as well. The other, they're the 2 other wicket takers. A little bit expensive from Oshadi Fernando and Inorka Ranawira, but Oshadi Prabodhini, I should say. And but it was it was always going to be a tough ask for them defending 106.
Yes, certainly not easy against a strong, experienced batting lineup. And they did well, though, to drag it towards the 19th over. And the Sri Lankan bowlers overall did a decent job. Take a look at this New Zealand run chase. That was the first wicket. Bernadine going for that big hike over mid-wicket. She was out, caught. A good catch. Inertia Fernando had a very good game. But then that partnership, crucial partnership between Susie Bates and Amelia Kerr, took the game away from Sri Lanka. They're top-class batters, very experienced, and they know how to get about these run chasers. And they were looking very comfortable. Played their shots well through the offside, through the onside. And Amelia Kerr in particular, she was looking good. Until that brilliant catch. That was brilliant from Udeshika. At mid-wicket, then came the skipper, trying to hit one out of the park. Was out, caught in the deep. 2 wickets in that over. And Sri Lanka were back in the game. And then the LBW of Maddie Green as well. Inoka Fernando picking up 3 wickets quickly. Brought Sri Lanka back into the game. Gave them some hope. But Georgia Plymouth joining Susie Bates ensured that not much damage was done. Susie Bates was out towards the end for a Melbourne 44, and New Zealand getting home with 7 deliveries to spare, 5 wickets in hand.
Yeah, comfortable for New Zealand in the end. Amelia Kerr got a couple of wickets and as well as a 34, contributing across both disciplines. But it was, 106 for 9. I think that's when the game was lost. Sri Lanka had some decent periods in their batting. Vishmi Gunaratne got to 26 off 28. A decent partnership towards the end as well. But they were always lacking a bit of power with Chamari Yadapattu out very first ball to the off spinner, to the New Zealand off spinner.
Yes, certainly just 106 and New Zealand chasing that in 18.5 overs. Bates 44, Amelia Kerr 34, Georgia Blimmer 16 not out. Inoshi Fernando 3 for 17 of overs. She was the pick of the bowlers, and New Zealand comfortably winning at the end by 5 wickets. So we'll take a look at what's up next. We will be back for the second T20 on the 10th of July, 2 days from now, Monday, here at the Pisara Oval, and the third game will be on the 12th of July. Those are the remaining games. Sri Lanka, of course, winning 2-1 in the ODI series that was played down in Galle. So we'll take a short break, and we will be back with you for the awards presentation. welcome back to the Pisara Oval. The first T20 Sri Lanka women versus New Zealand women. New Zealand women winning that game by 5 wickets, chasing down a small target of 107. Got there in 18.5 overs, thanks to the experienced Susie Bates. Damit Veerasinghe is down there for the presentation ceremony.
Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are all set for the post-match presentation of this first T20I game between Sri Lanka women and New Zealand women. First, I would like to speak to the losing captain, Chamari Atapattu of Sri Lanka. Chamari, hard game. Where do you think Sri Lanka lost the game?
Actually, we lost 20-25 runs. Especially, I got out in first ball, and our batting lineups a little bit struggle. But I'm really happy about our bowling unit. They done really good today. So especially, I can mention Inoshi Fernando and Udeshika bowling really good. So hopefully we can continue this bowling performance in next game, and we have to improve our batting for next game.
A word on Inoshi Fernando picked up a couple of wickets. She's also still very young.
No, actually she's a little bit experienced player, but last 2 years she doesn't play any international game. She could come back to the side. She done really good job. So hopefully she will continue this form in next games and next couple of tours.
Thank you very much, Chamari. Wish you all the very best for the next couple of games.
Thank you so much.
Next, we would like to speak to the New Zealand women captain, Sophie Devine. Sophie, congrats on the win. How was the performance of the bowlers and the batters?
Yeah, I think this is probably the conditions we were expecting coming to Sri Lanka, spin friendly. So spinners did a great job to be able to restrict them to 105, and then batters probably lost a few too many wickets. But the way Susie held the batting innings together was really pleasing.
Was it a pre-plan to use around 5 spinners, or did you adjust according to the pitch?
Probably more adjusted to the pitches as we saw. I think early on we used pace early, and when you saw how slow and low the wicket was going to be, so it was going to be a tough day for paces to get much out of it. So to have the ability to call on 4 or 5 spinners in your team is really helpful.
Thank you very much, Sophie. Wish you all the very best for the next 2 games.
Thank you.
Next, we would like to invite Executive Committee Member of Sri Lanka Cricket, Mr. Marlan Ranasinghe, to present the Player of the Match Award for capturing 1 wicket with 2 overs and then playing a match-winning knock of 44 runs. Player of the Match for the first T20I, Susie Bates of New Zealand. Susie, would like to have a word or two with you. What do you make of the team's performance today?
Yeah, I'm really pleased to get the win in the first match. Conditions were very different to Gull, so we talked about having to adapt to those, and obviously lots of spin bowling. But yeah, I thought with the ball we were much better than we have been so far as a collective, and then with the bat it was just making sure that once a batter got in that we finished off the game, which disappointing to get out at the end, but once you're set on that wicket you kind of have to stay in and make the most of it.
Thank you very much, Susie. Wish you all the very best for the next 2 games. So that's it from the post-match presentation of the first T20I.
So there you go, the winning captain from New Zealand looking very happy. Susie Bates, the player of the match, picking up 1 wicket and scoring a vital 44 to ensure the White Ferns get home over Sri Lanka in this first game. Once again, Sri Lanka put into bat made just 106 for 9. Vishmi Gunaratne 26, Oshadi Ranasinghe and Anushika contributing 18 each. Amalika was a standout, 2 for 18 off of 4 overs. Eden Carson 2 for 20 and 2 for 21 as well for the other bowler who did well, Kasparek. New Zealand 107 for 5. Susie Bates leading the way with a 44. Amalika contributing 34. She had a good game. Georgia Plymouth 16 and not out. Inoshi Fernando was outstanding, 4 overs 3 for 17. Udeshika 1 for 14 and Kavisha Dilari 1 for 17. So New Zealand winning by 5 wickets. So far the tally Sri Lanka versus New Zealand T20 internationals for the women's teams. 11 games played, and New Zealand going one up today, getting it 11 on the board. They came into the game 10-0, and now they are 11-0 over Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka will be looking to come back in that second T20 and try to win their first T20 international versus New Zealand. So as we said earlier, we have just ended the first T20. The second one is coming up in a couple of days, 10th of July here at the Pisara Oval, and the third game will be on the 12th of July at this same venue. So please join us for those games as well, coming to you live on the papare.com and Dialogue TV. So there you go. And 9:45 we will be coming to you live for that second game in a couple of days on the 10th of July. So please join us on the papare.com and Dialogue TV for that second T20. New Zealand will be looking to win the series. Sri Lanka will be looking to come back and win that game. Join us then. For now, it's a goodbye from all of us.